Going live with a news viewer accidentally. I think I did that last week too, but I think I did it quick enough to where nobody noticed.
Sure, I'll believe you. Thousands wouldn't, but I'll believe you.
Well, as long as I have you on my side, that's all that really matters, Jay.
Exactly.
So let's be real here. People already in the chat. Beadlock, Starston, and Lubed Helios, all subs too.
Wow,
how's it going, guys?
Thanks, guys.
Usually it takes a moment for people to actually start rolling in, but this was like instant almost. It's crazy.
Yeah. Lubed Helios missing out on the trend of adding an additional to the end of hello. I don't know. What are you playing at, man? What are you playing at?
Additional L's or additional O's, even.
Yeah.
I think I got the most lighting on me that I could possibly have in my room at this moment. I have my window open, so some daylight. I got my 2 build stream lights on me. I have my room light on.
Nice.
So hopefully people compliment me on my lighting today. Hint, hint. Just kidding.
I've just got my 2 stream lights up either side, but it's pitch black outside here. It's the middle of the night, so there's no outside light. There's no natural light I'm going to get in.
That's fair. Oh my god. Lubed Helios bringing in some of the Nathan Kim emotes. I like that. I like One Piece, so I like any of the Tony Chopper references. I think people would get mad if I ate during the pre-show.
No, I did the Mars bar at the beginning of the last show, so I think you're alright.
Did you? I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Alright,
That's because I'm good.
I'm gonna have a few more bites of this banh mi that I'm eating.
No worries. Bear Antler and Pilot XJ, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the pre-show. Brian's still eating his... wait, what time is it for you? 6 p.m. You're still eating your dinner? Yeah.
Breakfast. It's the first time I've eaten today.
I'm drinking my breakfast shortly. Nearly 2 a.m. here. Oh dear. We've got Talisman Solutions there as well with his customary lighter remote. Yep.
Brian, do you work nights? Not anymore. So I work nights at the casino that I've worked at for like, God, I'm almost going on 12 years there.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous. But I worked nights for the first like 11 years that I worked there, so my body's just kind of on that schedule now, and I'm having trouble like adjusting to much else.
Mm-hmm.
But I switched to more of a day shift, but it's kind of like an in between. So I work usually from about noon to 7, noon to 8, depending on the day.
Sure.
So I'm like kind of in the days, but like I don't work mornings, so I usually just tend to stay up pretty late anyways.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I don't work nights per se, but I mean sometimes I work nights on Top Clack. I do.
Top Clack's not work, dude. Top Clack's a hobby. It's fun. It's interesting. It's not work. If you love what you do, it's not work.
Okay. All right. Well, I do love Top Clack, so I guess
that's how I get through my work days. I'll be honest with you. That's how I get through the week.
I don't like my actual job, so it feels like a nightmare.
See, I like and dislike elements about my actual job. I love what I do. I'm just maybe not sure on some of the other aspects around that.
Yeah.
Blind Assassin,
Excuse me, yes.
Tef from Red Soap, and Riot as well, all here. Good afternoon, gentlemen, or good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are. I'm just going to leave Brian to chuck for a couple of minutes, so we'll hope he's alright.
I try to mute myself on stream when I'm like choking or something, that way people don't have to hear it. But I can't mute myself in stream and Discord in time, so you still have to put up with it.
Oh, right, okay. Right. So considerate. We need a little bot that mutes you everywhere. Maybe you could just mute your mic in Windows. That might help.
Yeah. I don't know why I don't do that. Oh, sounds like you have something going on, Jay.
Yeah, I forgot to turn my system volume off, which means I just got the ping when the Discord bot went.
Discord bot already?
Yeah, the Discord bot's just gone. Yeah, 3 minutes or whatever it is into streaming.
Wow.
NGB is at KFC. I'm mashing your taters. Nice. P for Fur. Hey everyone. Hey dude.
Ooh,
Welcome to the show.
I like pho.
Yeah, Fur. Yeah, love it. We've actually got a new place that's just up near us called Fur. That's what it's called. And I am going to try that out this weekend with the wife because it looks delicious and I'm hearing good things about it. So
Nice, yeah. I get pho probably once a week. There's a place pretty close to me that I go to, and it's life-changing, man. Everything I eat there is, like, freaking incredible.
good. That's the way it should be. Mountain Blocks, tier 1 sub, subscribed for 7 months. It says, good evening, gents. Good evening to you, Mountain Blocks. Thank you very much for the sub and the support that you show in the channel. We genuinely appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Talisman says, Jay, it's not the work that's problematic, it's the human beings that are dodgy. Yeah, I didn't want to go any further, just in case anyone who I work with is watching, but maybe you're right. Yeah, everyone I work with is good.
Do you think any of your coworkers or employees would be watching? I feel like that'd be pretty random.
It's not a secret that I do this. Some of my friends within my company that I work with that I don't necessarily work with or for or work for me, they watch. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there was at least 1 or 2 people that watched.
Big boss Jay in the house.
No, I'm a good boss. Or I like to think I am.
I wouldn't know. Pink Roy asking, yo, Brain. I guess I'm Brain now. What are you bringing to the Seattle meetup? I'm not sure yet. I'll probably bring, like, most of my boards, since it's not going to be too big of a deal, since I'm not having to fly anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't ask me, which is fine, whatever. All right, okay. If you don't care what I'm bringing, then that's
I think a lot of people probably don't know that you're coming to the Seattle meetup, honestly. Maybe.
I have mentioned it on stream a couple of times, so I'm going to try and get there.
Yeah, you said try. There's been no confirmation yet.
Well, I still haven't bought the ticket, but I am buying the ticket this weekend. So, so for those that don't know, I actually sold my Alice to fund my trip to come to see you guys in Seattle, which was a really hard decision to make, but I made it, and it's done, and I got the money for it yesterday. So I'll be booking the trip at the weekend.
I'm still dying off stream, guys. Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm choking on my banh mi. Why does Vietnamese food hate me so much? But when I love it so much.
P4 says, so what boards are you guys currently using? I'm using the ONZ that I built on stream last Sunday in Aubergine. I'm not sure if my cables are going to reach enough to show you it, but I just knocked my mic over, so apologies for that, but there it is. So I'm still using that.
I'm using a board I built last week on stream. This is the Sirius prototype, the 60% Palm board. We'll be going over the group buy information a little bit later. That is on our news doc, but that's what I've been using since I built it on the stream when we gave away actually 2 group buy spots of this for free. And I have been freaking loving it. This is certainly in like my top 5, probably even top 3 typing experiences that I've ever had, honestly.
Good, that's nice to hear. That's nice. I'm excited to try and get hold of one. I need to actually join the group buy for it and grab one.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Yeah, I should definitely look that up.
Like, I'm thinking about like getting another one. Thinking about joining the group buy just to get another one.
Really?
Yeah, like it's and like the price is pretty reasonable. Like,
yeah,
you can do a lot of configs for it.
Yeah, I'll have to buy one. NGB 9229 says Alice dollars equals dollars of the international flight. Well, no. So I sold my Alice was built with Nixie switches, which everyone knows are quite expensive. I sold everything for $900, which is broadly what it cost me when you figure in the facts of the cost of the switches, the Zeal stabilizers, and the board. I suspect if I'd sold it on the aftermarket, I could have got more money for it if I'd wanted to. But the international flights are about £800, which is about $970-ish to get me over there. And then on top of that, there's all sorts of other things like food and, you know, travel bits and pieces like getting to the airport here and getting from the airport to Brian's or whatever else we've got to do. So there's all sorts of other things I need to work out consideration cost-wise, you know, and spending money as well, things like that. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure Jay gets to the Seattle meetup. so that way everyone can see how awesome he is, or how lame he is. I don't know, one way or the other, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, awesome. That doesn't sound like me.
You're right, it doesn't. Fizzkey asking, how is the Kepler? Has the PCB been fixed? So I sent my plate PCB assembly over to Honeybush, who is the designer of that particular PCB, and he's going to take a look at it and see what's going on, and hopefully he can figure it out. He's a pretty smart guy. I'm sure he will be able to, so I'm just waiting on that. It arrived to him today, so hopefully in the next several days we get some kind of answer.
Sounds good. Sounds good. J Shuff gifted a tier 1 sub to Leopold Blooms, so thank you very much for that, J Shuff, and well done, Leopold. Congratulations on your sub.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I mean, I guess we could, since the bot pinged a lot faster than it normally does, I guess we can start now.
Yeah, why not run an intro, dude?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that right now, guys. Alright guys, hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Top Clack. I am your host Quakums. I am joined by my co-host Jay, the lovely British Top Clack host that you all know and love. And we're going to talk about keyboards today. As usual, we have a fairly healthy news stock, but we think it's actually... it's not too excessive this week. It actually feels pretty reasonable, pretty manageable. We've got a lot of good things on there. Got a couple announcements, and of course, at the end of the stream, we will end with a Q&A like we always do.
Absolutely.
So just keep that in mind, guys. If you have questions, make sure you save them for later, please. If you guys were what we were laughing at, the intro. You guys can't hear us when we roll the intro, but we can hear each other. And we were just kind of making jokes because I can't wait to get a new intro because that one is just so outdated now.
That's not what you said, Brian. You should say what you said.
I might have been a little bit more choice or less choice with my words. Yes.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We have kind of started on our refresh finally. We have some designs in the works. We got some things actually going on. So hopefully in the very near future we can start to move over to a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner, a little bit more modern of a design. It'll be pretty nice. Riot on the Bay subs to Twitch Prime for 2 months. Thank you so much, Riot on the Bay. Glad to have you in chat as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you, dude. We appreciate that. Just as well, just catching up on a little bit of chat. P4 did ask if we were considering becoming a Discord partner. Yes, Brian and I are considering that. We're very, very close on the requirements. We hope that we'll hit it this week. So I think, Brian, you've got another build stream, which we'll talk about later on.
Well, Discord and Twitch partner are two different things.
Yeah, sorry, did he Discord partner? Sorry, I thought...
Yeah,
I just read partner.
We're going to be applying for Twitch partnership very soon because we are going to be meeting all the requirements. This week, but also just going forward, we should be able to just consistently keep hitting all the requirements. So we're going to apply for that very soon. Discord partner, I haven't actually looked into yet. I'm not even sure what kind of benefits it gets us, but I imagine that would also be something on our list. I've never looked into it either, so I don't know. Sorry, I just saw partner and didn't read the whole thing, so my apologies for that. It's all good. But yeah, that's the update going on now. Upas subs to Twitch Prime for 5 months. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, sir. And let's start out with our mail call, as we typically do.
Sounds good. What did you get this week, dude?
Nothing. How about you?
I got a few things, as always. So I got some more Gateron ink switches. So I've got another bag full of those. I think there's 120 in there. I also got a little bit of a package from Mike at Novel Keys, and the first thing I want to do is shout out to Mike and say thank you very much for this, because I pestered Mike for a couple of bits and pieces with a promise to pay in a couple of days' time, just because I was away for a couple of days last week, and he was completely fine with that. I've pestered him a few times this week about when I could pay him, and then earlier on this week the parcel turned up, and as a really nice gesture, because he knew it was my wedding anniversary, he sent me a little handwritten note saying it's basically an anniversary gift from him to me. So just big shout out to Mike, and thank you very much for that. I genuinely appreciate it, dude. But Mike sent me a couple of little bits and pieces. He sent me a Novel Keys bottle opener, and he also sent me a full selection of GMK Mr. Sleeves. So I've got all of the kits for Mr. Sleeves as well, which is what I was looking for as well. So thank you to Mike for that. Also, in my endeavours to find the best switches and spring combinations I can, this week I got delivered some TX keyboard springs. So I've got the springs. For those of you who don't know, they actually come in a great little bit of packaging. So all of the springs are packaged individually. You get a little bit of lube with it. I'm not sure what it is. Let's have a look at it. But all of them are packaged individually, which means with just a pair of tweezers, you can pull them out really nicely and easily. It's a really deep box. It comes with a little tray underneath, so that if you do put too much lube on, you can recollect it in the tray. And it's just really well thought out. It's a great little bit of kit. I just hope the springs are nice.
I have never seen that before, actually. The individually packaged springs, individually placed springs. That seems really tedious.
It's a package, yeah, but from a building perspective, it's really good. Now, the good news is, Brian, I got two, because one is for you, because I do think about it sometimes. So I will be sending one of those on the way to you to give a try out as well. But yeah, I got that. And then the final thing I got this week, which is going to be my build stream for this week, is I did get the Rain M3, so it's in this nice terminal-themed sleeve. But this is the Rain M3 prototype, which is kind of like an extended 1800 40% with wing keyless blockers. So I'll be building that on Sunday. I'm excited to have a look at that as well, but that came through this one too.
Very nice, very nice. Starston subs at tier 2 for a 14-1 streak, and he says, on the way to partner. Thank you so much, Starston.
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
that,
you, man. Genuinely appreciate that, yeah.
Heck yeah, we are on the way. Hoping to get there very soon. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a few announcements that we have.
Sure.
Before we roll into our news doc. So of course, as usual. Well, let's just reiterate that we do have a 24-hour stream incoming. We are still planning it for June. So look forward to that if that's something you're into. We're going to be going through a lot of cool different segments on the 24-hour stream. It's going to be a pretty ambitiously designed, structured stream, honestly, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
So
it's looking really good.
Yeah. So look forward to that. We're gonna have a lot of different segments. We're gonna have like I'm working on a game show. We're gonna have a lot of keyboard related segments, a lot of non-keyboard related segments. It's gonna be a really good time. We will have a schedule up beforehand, so you can kind of pick and choose maybe what segments you want to be a part of. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So maybe you like some things, maybe you dislike some things, so you can know in advance what you'd like to do. Beast Troll MC in chat. Oh my gosh. Thanks for checking us out, Beast Troll. What an honor.
Good to see you, dude.
What an honor. And Chewy, subbing at tier 1 for 7 months. Thank you very much, Chewy. Shout out to you, sir.
Thank you, dude.
Next up, I did post an update very recently on Reddit, just a few hours ago, actually, about the Holy Panda situation with Mass Drop. A lot of people have been asking me for updates lately, so I figured I'd actually just put it out there in the public instead of just saying it on stream. But if you do want to check out that update, you can check it out there. I did post it in the announcement section of our Discord as well. So you can find it, either way. It all traces back to the website. There's just a little bit of update, not terribly long, but long story short is...
The TLDR, yeah.
The TLD...
What did you say?
Yeah, well, just like I think I showed this last stream as well, but Massdrop did send me 30 of the production run Holy Pandas. That's what they told me they are. So that's what they sent me here, and they feel like Holy Pandas. So that's what's going on with that. Yeah, I didn't really have any doubt. I've had like 5 or 6 people ask me like, how do you know they didn't just send you more, originals or more, makeshift clones or whatever? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I really don't. Your guess is as good as mine. I wasn't there at the factory when these were, shot out of the freaking molds or whatever into the molds. Like, I just wasn't there. So
let's be honest though. Our drop really gonna lie about this, given the fact that they're going to be shipping hundreds of thousands of these out potentially in the next couple of weeks when that goes live. Why would they send Brian the wrong ones now at this stage when everyone's going to have their hand on the product? If there's a clear difference, it's going to be really obvious really quickly, and that would be so disingenuous to their business model that I can't see it happening. It's we should take them at face value until proven otherwise is my view on that.
Yeah, and Beastrel actually brings up a pretty good opinion. He says, to be honest, if other people can clone pandas twice, I'm pretty sure they should be able to replicate the original feel. And they really can. Like, it feels like a holy panda, it sounds like a holy panda, it looks like a holy panda. It's a holy panda, guys. I mean, we won't really 100% know anything until all the, the normal people that are actually in the group buy get all their switches and start to use them. I mean, I'm just one person, and while obviously Top Clack might have a little bit of an influence here, like, this doesn't really mean a whole lot until everyone else gets their Switches.
Yeah. But that's pretty close, so we'll see. I've got some in the group buy coming as well, so, I think, did you get some in the group buy as well, Brian? I think
I did not. I was under the impression that they were going to send me enough for a full board. And I did get a little bummed that they only sent me 30, and I did comment on that in the update as well. It's kind of an odd number to send me, but
yeah, it's a really weird number. Yeah. So the original group buy for Holy Pandas from Drop is going to ship soon. So I think I've got 200 of them coming or something like that. So we'll be able to work out if there is any difference between the samples Brian's received and the actual production run ship.
Yep. JYM Videos subscribes at Tier 1. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.
The last thing on our announcements doc here is that you may have noticed we do have a new sponsor. As you can see in our little sponsor segment, that is Dixiemech. It's not part of the sponsorship GIF rotation, and I apologize for that. I didn't have enough time to actually do it before the stream today, so I kind of dropped the ball on that one. But Dixie is a new partner with TopClack, so we do have an affiliate link. It is dixiemech.com/TopClack. Pretty easy to remember, guys. So if you do want to support TopClack while you're purchasing things from Dixiemech, whether you're buying, in-stock items or joining group buys, it helps us out quite a bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So
absolutely, yeah.
So we'll touch more on that later.
Yeah. Links in chat though, guys, if you want to check that out. And as Sir Nathan Kim himself says, new sponsor. Yes, it is. Yeah, we're proud to announce this partnership with Dixie. It's good to move forwards.
Yes, absolutely. So, Dixie been doing pretty awesome things in the community lately, and he's a really great guy, and we've been really enjoying a lot of things that he's been doing, and been joining a lot of his group buys and stuff lately as well. So, shout out to Dixie. Thanks for partnering with us, and we look forward to the future.
He's also really cute as well, which helps. So
he's pretty adorable. All right, guys, let's get our news doc started here.
Yeah, sure.
Over to that.
So. Here is the link going into chat for our first news document this week, which is called the PLA 75, which is a gasket mount 75%. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this board, Brian? What's the down low on this one?
Okay, so I think that the big selling point here is probably the plastic itself, PLA. I'm going to flip over to a Wikipedia article and just read you off the first sentence or two so you guys may have a better idea of what's going on here. So PLA is polylactic acid, or polylactide. It is a biodegradable thermoplastic aliphatic polyester derived from renewable biomass, typically from fermented plant starch such as from corn, cassava, sugarcane, and sugar beet pulp. So this is actually pretty interesting. In 2010, PLA had the second highest consumption volume of any bioplastic of the world. So that's pretty interesting.
It is.
Do you have
any experience with it?
I have zero experience with PLA, but I know it's fairly popular in terms of 3D printing, which is what this user here, Red's Not Dead, is looking to achieve.
Yeah, so I use it in 3D printing quite a bit. As most people know, I 3D print tools and things like that to help me with keyboards as well as other bits and pieces as well. It's an interesting material. I can't for the life of me feel like I know how it's going to sound as a keyboard case. I've never tried to do anything that big with it, but you need a fairly industrial-sized solution to print something as big as a keyboard case. I know Keyboard Bell does things like that, but what really strikes me as interesting for this one is not that it's just a plastic 3D printed board, it's also that it's got a certain type of mounting system to it as well, which looks quite interesting and quite different in the way it's been applied. So the thing here, guys, is it's got a gasket mount system, very similar to what we've seen in terms of the Volcano 66 and the Polaris, where it's got above and below the plate rubberized portions in 6 different areas around the plate. So you've got 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and then 1 on either side, and then that's above the plate and below the plate as well. To give you 12 different mounting points, effectively. But I'm just interested to see how that's going to combine with a plastic which is quite flexible. You can 3D print things that are quite strong, but it does have some flexibility to it. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like and what it sounds like, to be honest.
Yeah, so this is actually a pretty ambitious design. It seems kind of simple, and I guess in some regards it probably is, but at the same time, we don't usually see this level of board using, plastic materials, it's becoming a little bit more mainstream, obviously, with the major growth we've seen with polycarbonate, and now POM hitting the market with stuff like the Sirius. But PLA is a little bit newer to our community. Obviously, people have been 3D printing some stuff here and there, but to actually kind of force it into the higher end, I'm going to call this higher end because it is, it's a gasket mount system. It's a pretty nice looking design. You have what is effectively an isolated plate. This version is going to be using a KBD75 PCB, so you'll have QMK, RGB underglow, and USB-C. The design itself I thought was pretty interesting. You can kind of see it in this bottom picture. So there's this bottom portion of the case, which you can see here, and then the top portion of the case actually fully goes over that to encompass it. So it's a seamless design from as far as the sides are concerned. And that seems like it's going to be a pretty bulky and dense overall feel and sound, which I'm kind of excited for.
Yeah. I think the other interesting thing as well is that he does say that he's open to doing additional tops. So if you want to have a wing keyless top, or you want to have blockers in other places that the PCB and plates system can support, there are opportunities to do that as well. So that's something you can quite easily change the design for and just add to the 3D print file. I noticed down in the chat as well there were questions around if you'd be working with Keyboard Bell again, which I think he is. And now we know that Keyboard Bell does do some really good 3D printed cases so far, and there's been a lot of interest in those, and the quality is quite high, especially for 3D printing, which is quite difficult to get into. I think she must have a really, really good 3D print setup or access to one to be able to produce at the quality she does, because I know I couldn't on my home 3D printer. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. It's good that with what we're seeing, and I was going to touch on this something that we're going to talk on later on, but what we're seeing here is we're seeing what was a top tier kind of design, and we're seeing that filtering down through the layers of cost and cost of entry into the hobby at different levels. So instead of just being the top tier, kind of like top end customs and customs with a K that kind of had the gasket solutions, we're now seeing that drop down to with the Polaris to KBDfans level, and now we're seeing that drop down to even the home hobbyist level of potentially 3D printing your own boards with that kind of implementation as well. So it is really interesting that we're seeing that kind of trickle down economics of design features from the top echelons of the hobby right down to the lower end as well.
Yeah, Ride on the Bay brings up a pretty good point. He says, seems pretty early, doesn't have a USB port. No fillets or chamfers. My guess is design change pretty significantly. Yeah, so this is obviously a relatively early interest check, but it's kind of, I think he's kind of just shooting for more of a proof of concept on this, hopefully, at the moment. Yeah. But yeah, he does comment and say, this is some of the best sounding material, just a hair denser than polycarbonate, but the fact that it doesn't have to be solid allows for hollow segments that really sound great. The same techniques were used on the ADK64, which I think was the last group by that Red's Not Dead was involved in, in which he also used PLA plastics. So, I don't know. It's going to be something to kind of keep an eye on. We'll have to check it out again once it hits the actual group by segment, if it does. So, I think this could be pretty cool. I'm all aboard the plastic train lately, after trying, not only polycarbonate boards and plates, but the POM Sirius really has me in love. I'm not gonna lie. The POM top, POM bottom, POM plate. I'm a believer right now.
Yeah, that's the good thing. One of the other things that'd be quite interesting is actually you can buy PLA in blocks. I know because I've seen it when I've been looking for stuff for my 3D printer. You can actually buy it in blocks. It'd be interesting to understand if that's machinable like POM and other plastics are. So if we could actually have a CNC PLA case, I don't know if that's possible or not, or if we could even have PLA plates. Now I know 3D printing plates doesn't always work the best. It's possible, but they're not great. So it'd be interesting to see if we can actually get things cut from blocks or sheets of PLA separately rather than just 3D printing them. So that might be something for the community to look into as well.
Yeah. More materials, man. Anything, even if it is kind of a stuff, yeah. Exactly, like even if it's like a failure, then we at least know and we can maybe alter things, work around it, try something new a different time. But innovation for the sake of innovation, I'm usually a pretty big fan of that personally.
Yeah, sounds good. In fact, Mountain Blocks and Piezoelectric have just said it might be difficult to machine PLA because the melting point is pretty low, which is why it's really good in 3D printers. So yeah, it's fair. You were saying this isn't really a new material though. I know that Keyboard Bell has been running group buys for cases like this, but if you think about in terms of what the masses have access to, I don't think that one vendor or one person running these group buys necessarily means that that's hugely available within the community. It's not like the proliferance of aluminium or aluminum, as you guys would say over in the US, and it's certainly not to the level of the hype train that POM and other materials have got. But as Brian was saying, the more different things that we can try for materials, not just for cases but for plates as well, and for other options and gasket materials and all of that kind of different stuff, the more things we can try, the better things are going to be. Some things won't work, some things will work, some things are better than aluminium, some things will be worse, and there's always an opportunity to explore. And as far as I'm aware, this is the first time we've had anything other than tray mount in 3D printed plastics within the community. I don't think we've ever had a top mount, and we've certainly never had a gasket mount. So I think that stepping away from those old types of traditional stuff that we've done previously and trying new stuff, it's got to be commended.
Yep. Agreed. So we'll keep an eye out on this, and once it hits group buy, we will check it out again. But for now, we will move on to another interest check that is really, really interesting, if I do say so myself. This is the Fox Labs X INETT SQUARE 80%. So interesting name there. And
Which is just a TKL, right?
It's a TKL. But there are some things going on here. So the first thing I want to do, just because it's really interesting to me, is I'm going to open up this picture, which is my favorite picture in the thread at the moment. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. So the keyboard itself has a 7-degree angle. It is using a 60-63 aluminum. Plate is aluminum. So nothing really terribly interesting there. But I'm gonna draw your eyes over to the plate itself, because I think this is the first time I've actually seen this particular implementation. Hopefully it kind of comes across on stream here, guys, but Jay, please.
Yeah, I've already muted it. It's muted now, don't worry.
So this plate, as you can see, actually has these kind of raised ridges around different segments of the keyboard. So obviously one big one here on your 60%, then your arrow keys also, as well as your nav cluster up here as well. So they claim this is a 4mm plate, and I imagine that means it's a 4mm plate at the highest point, not the lowest point. I imagine the lower end is probably going to be closer to 1.5. That is kind of our guess right now. But I thought this was a very interesting idea, and I think the main reason they're going for that is because they can accomplish looks like this here. So obviously you kind of have this internal frame, which is actually the plate. It actually shows through the top there and kind of gives a little bit of character to each section of the keyboard. And I think this really works out. I think this looks absolutely spectacular, if I'm being honest.
I agree, and I think it does a couple of things. First of all, you're right, it gives that framing to the different areas, which is a new look that we're seeing on the top of the case. It looks like it's going to be flush with the actual top layer of the aluminium, so where the blockers poke through the from the plate, that's going to be in line with the top of the case. That's going to be nice and flush across the top. It looks like it's going to be, easy to define those areas. You can accent them differently depending on what color plate versus case topping and key set you use. But the other interesting thing as well is how's that going to make the switches feel and sound, because that plate's going to have parts that are thicker going all the way across the PCB where you've got those kind of borders. So it's going to add rigidity to the plate. It's not going to feel like a normal 1.5 millimeter plate, because it's got thicker areas to it, so it's going to have some reinforcement, but I suspect it's going to have some changes to the acoustics. And speaking of the acoustics, if you take a look at the back of the board, which is probably easier on that split view, the horizontal expanded view at the top of the IC, you can also see that on the back of the board there are 2 ports, and what these look like and what the conversation tends to be showing us these are is almost like sound export ports, so very similar to what you'd see on a guitar or on a violin, where you've got holes for the sound to develop and exit from the keyboard. It looks like that's what these are going to be used for. Where the weight sits internally doesn't look like it blocks these, so I'd be interested to see how that works and if that's the case. But it's a new implementation, and sound's becoming increasingly important within the community. We're starting to look at it a little bit more. We're starting to, people trying new materials, like the last interest check we looked at for sound. That's why people are trying all these new materials. But what if we don't have to look at materials and we can just look at case design to increase sound? I know that that's what the Kepler and the JO1 did in terms of how we'd implemented gaskets and the shape of the board internally, and it looks like there's opportunity to change that on the externals of the board as well. So it's a very interesting interest check. I think the board itself looks great. In terms of stuff I don't like, the LEDs, I'm not a fan of those. I'm not quite sure I like the square blocks on them. I don't know how you feel about those, Brian.
I think it's okay. I think it kind of enforces their kind of namesake theme here. But I could take it or leave it, honestly. It's not something I'm terribly interested in. I think it's funny. Beastrel says, holes for my drink to flow through when I spill it, for these presumed acoustic cutouts.
It's or heat expansion. You could maybe get some nice cooling fans put in there and do that as well.
This seems like a really elaborate and ambitious design, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
They do have the price estimated around 410 USD, which honestly sounds a little low. When you're checking out a lot of this milling work, I mean, the bottom with these kind of acoustic design angles with the exhaust ports, I guess you'd call them. I don't know. Intricacies of the weight and the fact that the plate itself has all these kind of raised ridges is just really. It seems like a lot, and it seems really cool. And I hope they keep the price low enough for this to actually be attractive to the general market. But on the flip side, they only have 50 units for the GCAT group buy, and it will run as first come, first serve. So, that's not a terribly high amount of units. So it'll probably sell out regardless, just because it looks relatively good.
I'm tempted to pick one of these up just to see how it does look and feel, because as you say, there is even complexity in the weight system. So the way that the weight goes internally actually protrudes in different areas through the board. So the whole square logo across the bottom, that's the weight protruding through the base of the keyboard, rather than having the whole weight visible. It's just that bit, and the rest of it's internal. So it is a really, really interesting design, and there's a lot of complexity in it, especially in terms of the machining and how it's going to have to be manufactured. I guess worry beads for me are around the LED design. I'm not sure I like that. I think that they need to potentially have work on that, or make sure that the LED insert for the blockers on the LEDs match the blockers that you're getting with the plate, or build it into the plate or something like that. And secondly, the worry for me is around the tolerances between that raised part, those blockers coming off the plate, and it matching up against the aluminium of the top case as well. Those bezels have to be tight. It has to fit well. If you have any slack in that, there's going to be movement around there. It's not going to look great. You're going to have gaps between the bezel and the actual top case. So the tolerances on that are key as well. It's going to have to be really accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the cool things here is they actually have physical prototypes. Like this is not a render. Some of these are renders, but this like you can see like dirt like and stuff on these cases and stuff. Like they actually have physical prototypes. So that's pretty fun to see as well.
Dixie raises a good point actually. He says if you take a look at the top of the renders, the red and black board, the board on the right, you can actually see, and the white ones as well, you can actually see that the wing keyless blocker is based on the plate. It's not based on the top case. It comes through the plate. So you can see where they've got the raised portions of the plate. The wing keyless blocker is actually sat on there as well, which is really interesting. Good spot, Dixie.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really ambitious design, but I'm really excited to see it. I will probably be trying to get one of these as well, just because it just it's so different, and I like different. Call me a hipster, but I'm glad it's not just another basic, simple TKL with a top mounted plate, and it looks like 50% of the other TKLs in the market. Like I like different. I like variety. Variety is my end game. Making that a t-shirt, guys. All rights reserved. Patent pending. So
yeah, I'm interested to see it as well. I think it looks really clever. There's a lot of interesting design features here. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yep, cool. So we'll check that out once it hits the group buy phase. Speaking of group buy phase, we have the next topic up, which is the Sirius, the Palm 6% that I was showing off earlier, that I'm typing on right now, that I have a prototype of. So this group buy is open now as of 4 days ago, so you can get on this.
Yep.
And like I had mentioned already, I'm in love, man. This board is really something, particularly for the price. I'm a believer in Palm. Palm top, Palm bottom. The default kit comes with a Palm plate. Pretty normal stats going on here. Top mount, 7-degree angle, 19mm front height. That's all pretty darn common. It does support standard 60% PSBs with that left side USB. And starting at $225. So that's without the PVD-coated brass weight. You can add the PVD-coated brass weight that sits internally for another $50. So still sub $300 board, which I like to see in the market. How do you feel about this, Jay?
It's a great price. It's run by 159, who runs Project Keyboard. You know, already a friend of Clack as well. So it's good to see people running new stuff. I've been really excited seeing all of the prototypes. There's quite a few people in our Discord server that have got prototypes of this. I won't lie, I'm kind of jealous right now. I think it looks great. I definitely want to try it out. I really liked your typing sound test of this as well, Brian. The one you uploaded a couple of days ago. So yeah, I'm going to be joining this because I definitely want to pick one of these up. I think it looks great. I think the design is interesting. The way that the internal weight is situated within the case looks really good. The multiple different options for plates as well. Carbon fiber is my favorite plate material right now. So I'm really glad to see that that's available. And multiple different tops as well. So you can pick between HHKB and wing keyless and all of that kind of stuff. I think it just really works. So I'm excited to see this. I definitely want to pick one up.
Yeah, you definitely should. This is a winner for me, guys. Like I think this is definitely going to be in the running for my keyboard of the year.
Really?
I expect Polaris will probably be up there too. I'm hoping to get my hands on a Polaris prototype from AIO3. I think that could also be one of the top contenders. In terms of like typing experience per dollar, I think the Sirius is just absolutely unbelievably stunning. That's I mean, I'm all about value. Like, it's cool. Like the Kepler, for instance, is like, it's a really cool board, but it's also really expensive. For sure. For that reason, the Sirius is actually more interesting to me because it costs so much less, but the typing experience is still also really good. This is my first experience with a Palm plate, so I'm just super happy about it. You can check out my typing test in the thread there even. It sounds incredible, personally. It sounds and feels absolutely amazing. And you can add other plate materials too if you want. So if you want carbon fiber, you can do that in black, silver, blue, or pink. Oh, pink, that's kind of cool. I didn't notice that before. You can do FR4, which is going to be black. You can do sandblasted polycarbonates, or you can add an additional Palm plate. I think the base kit already comes with a Palm plate. And then you can choose between black or silver PVD for your brass weight if you want to spend that extra $50, which I think is totally worth it.
Yeah, I think I agree. As I say, I've been watching a lot of the videos that you guys have been posting on this. The guys that got into the prototype round. I'm definitely interested in checking this out. I'll be putting one up in the group buy. And as you say, the thing we're seeing this year is we're seeing quite a lot of what seem to be really good quality boards at low prices. I think we've seen from UPass a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, we saw the Brutal 60. That was really cheap. We've seen this, which has got a lot more in terms of design in there as well for the internal weight and the different materials. It's the first time we've seen fully CNC'd POM materials for a case. I'm dead interested to try it out.
Yeah,
looks really good.
This is gonna be hype, guys. You can quote me on this. This is gonna be one of the top boards of the year, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I just hope it doesn't run out before I get a chance to join.
Yeah, well, I think this isn't very limited. I think he has it capped at like 300 units. And I think it is, yeah. And I think he's only sold like 70 so far, or so, really? Like somewhere between like 70 and 100. So there should still be a fair amount of spots left. So yeah, cool. Definitely check that out if you guys are interested. The pre-order closes on May 31st.
Excellent. Okay. So moving on to something a little bit different this time. This is one of Brian's favourite boards. He has got a bit of a penchant for this product.
You know me.
I know he talked about buying 3 each of these now, so that he had every colour earlier on before the show. Why don't you tell us about the Morgrie MOYAN 96 round 2?
Okay, so this, like Jay had mentioned, this is the round 2 of this keyboard, and boy, what a keyboard this is. We have talked about it before on Top Clack quite a while back during the KP Republic round 1. I think it was probably around a year ago, maybe even more, back when Man of Interest was still with Top Clack. So, you know, my opinions on it haven't really changed a whole lot since then. I thought it was really, really ridiculous back then, and I still think it's really, really ridiculous. But now with the introduction of Hotswap, maybe they're trying to bring it on to a little bit more newer of an audience. I don't even know how to describe this design. It's pretty ridiculous. But I want to read off a couple.
Just read it. Just read the terminology that you use, man. That's enough, I think.
Yeah. So this keyboard is available in Cyan, Violet, and Army, which I'm assuming is some kind of green color. So interesting color options there. 5-degree typing angle, that's pretty normal. Oh, what is this? 236 RGB LEDs for RGB in-switch backlighting and RGB crevice lighting. I know how you guys feel about crevice lighting.
Yeah,
so
everyone loves a good crevice, right? And everyone that loves a good crevice loves good crevice lighting. Well, here you've got 236 RGBs for all of that lighting. So how do you feel about crevices, Brian? What's your favourite type of crevice?
I'm generally a fan of crevices, but I'm a little new to RGB crevices, I guess you could say. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about this board. It does use a polished brass weight. It does have a magnetic USB connector. And like I mentioned earlier, the PCB will feature the KL Hotswap sockets. I believe the round 1 version of this was not programmable. This version is, although it doesn't say how. It just says easy to use software to customize lighting effects and key maps. I don't know. What does that mean? So
so just for context on that, I know that the Morgrie, which we covered a few weeks ago, which was a 60%, that had its own software to custom control it. I have seen some screenshots of that. I assume it's the same software they're going to use on this one, but there's no confirmation of that at the minute.
Anyone else having a hard time hearing Jay? Jay is at the same volume he always is for Top Clack. I have not changed it at all.
Too quiet.
Is anyone else having trouble? I can turn Jay up if we need to. Just let me know if you guys are having that much trouble hearing him.
Yeah, testing, guys. Hopefully that's all right. Hopefully you can hear me. I seem loud looking at the when I'm talking. The volume of the stream that I have playing in my headphone is loud enough for me. So I hope that's all right.
Most people say fine, ranging from fine to a little lower, a little quiet. All right, I'll turn him up a little bit.
Turn me up, Daddy.
Oof. Someone please don't clip that. All right, I turned him up a couple decibels. Hopefully that'll help.
Cool.
But getting back to the crevice lighting, 236 RGB crevice lights and switch LEDs. This is a design that I feel like probably isn't going to sell that well. I don't know, though. How did the round 1 do? Obviously, if they're having a round 2, maybe the round 1 was more successful than we think.
It must have been, because otherwise they wouldn't have brought it back in new colours. Previously, it was available in red and black or red and grey, if I remember correctly. So this is new colours. It's a different design. The PCB is definitely different because it's now hot swappable and it's programmable. So, you know, I don't know if they just had an excess of leftover cases that had recoloured and they wanted to sell, or whether this is actually a full round 2. But I mean, the colours are nice, but I just don't feel like this is something that will do well in the Western community. I think maybe in the Eastern community there might be more of a market for this, but I feel like in the Western community it's probably a little bit too extreme for most people's tastes. Dixie, I'm trying to be nice here.
Dixie says, "What's the saying? Just because you can doesn't mean you should."
Yeah.
That's probably a good way to. This is pretty out there, so I mean, we're not going to spend too much more time on this. This
Yeah.
kit will run you $400 regardless of the color that you choose, and
Which I think is more expensive than previous run.
Yeah, well, it does have more features than the previous run as well, so maybe that's why. Regardless, let's move on out of the realm of keyboards and into the realm of keycaps. We do have some GMK interest checks and group buys going on for you, as usual. And we will start out with the interest check for GMK Night Runner, which, as you could probably tell from the date, was actually posted a few weeks ago, but we forgot to cover it, and Blind Assassin likes to just keep reminding us that we forgot him, so he just, punches us in the face a bunch. So
just before we do jump into this one, big shout out to Mr. Petrov, and I think we missed one from Talisman Solutions earlier on as well, but thank you very much for this, guys. We genuinely appreciate those. Even if we don't get to anyone who posts bits and subscriptions and things like that, we do really appreciate it, and I apologise if we miss you. But yeah.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Night Runner then, Brian.
So it's a GMK interest check. It is inspired I like this line a lot, actually. Inspired by those elite few who navigate the rooftops of a dystopian cyberpunk city, GMK Night Runner aims to bring a little of the not-so-distant future to your setup. So obviously he's kind of going for the cyberpunk aesthetic here. It's very bright. Whether that's something for you or not is obviously kind of up to you. He does have kind of one, I think this is the only render on an actual board. He does have one render here, and I think it looks alright. It's a little too bright for me personally, but I like that it has a theme. It's a theme that I like. He's obviously put some thoughts into it. He has some proposed novelties here. He's got a lot of artwork, which I think is really cool, but I wish there were more renders as well to go along with all this artwork.
I think that's fair. I think I'd like to see some more renders to see how it actually looks on a board. For me, I kind of like the base colours of the alphas and the mods. I'm not too sure on the legend colour. It's a bit bright for me. But I get that it's going for the bright city lights, and that's kind of what it's trying to portray. I get how it works in terms of the theme. I just don't know if it works for me. The yellow mods do remind me very much of GMK 3 Run. I'm not sure if it's the same colour, but it's very, very similar looking at that Pantone as well. Speaking of the mods, I do really like the designs on the modifiers. So on the novelties, sorry, not mods, the novelties. Some of these are really cool. We've got the characters here, and then we've got the moon rising above the cityscapes and things like that. I really like those. I'm not so fond of the shoe and the crane and the glasses at that side, but I do really like those three cityscape ones. I think they're really nice. I do really like those. And what about that desk pad, Brian? What do you think of the desk mat?
Is there a better picture of it, or is it just the one in the render?
Yeah.
Oh wait, this one, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's the one. Yeah.
I think I don't even know, man. I think as far as desk mats are concerned, I think this is going to be kind of a really big hit or miss with people. I think that I like it a lot. I'm okay with really busy desk mats, but not so much really busy keyboards. So this desk mat is actually kind of a win for me. I like this quite a bit, but it is quite a bit busy, based on maybe some people are into the more busy desk mats.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the desk mat as well. I like the background. I like the moon on there. I like the buildings. For me, I'm just not a fan of the yellow in the set. I would just remove the yellow aspects of the signs on top of the buildings, the lights that are on. I would keep the gentleman on the edge of the rooftop with the yellow lighting on the edge. I'd just keep that area of it and remove the yellow from the rest of it. I think I'd be fine with the desk mat then. But I really like that whole kind of sensation of the steam, the smoke rising above the city, that kind of stuff. That kind of haze that the city's got above it, and then leading up into the night sky. I like that aspect of it as well. And it's interesting that there's a lot of design elements gone on there. So there's like buildings that are connected together with walkways, and there's cranes for new buildings, and it does feel like you're looking at a real city.
Yeah, I think the artwork is really nice, and the theme solid. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Need more renders, which I think he did say are coming soon. This one was done today, apparently.
Yeah.
So
I need to see more renders to decide whether I like that yellow. It might be. And one of the other things is maybe if the yellow was toned down a little bit, I think I prefer it. But again, this is just my personal preference, guys. This isn't to take anything away from the set. It works with the theme. Just for me, that yellow is a bit too bright. But that's just my.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think the yellow does completely fit the theme, but it's bright. That's my opinion on it. All right.
Okay, cool. So, moving on then, folks, the next interest check we've got up isn't for GMK, which is unusual. It is for SA, and this is SA Magic City. And this is being run by Dixiemech, who is our new sponsor, and Garrett, I think, is in chat, so hello if you are still there. And this is a set that we've talked about previously on Top Clack a few months ago when it went into to interest check. And I understand now, Brian, that this is almost a group buy now.
Yep.
Is that how it's changed?
Yeah, so obviously, like the title suggests, it's an interest check, but he has kind of opened, what I guess he's calling it small batch orders. So it is kind of like a pre-order, kind of like a group buy. He's trying to just hit an MOQ of 75. So when he ran the interest check previously, it did not get enough interest to make the full run. A lot of people seem to really be interested in the set though, and still want to see it happen. So a lot of people were like, "Hey, do this anyway. Like, let me in. Like, I want this set." So he decided to do a smaller run with an MOQ of 75, and he's going to do I'm going to say all-encompassing base kit, just one kit, so that way you can try to keep the price as low as possible.
Sure.
So yeah, that's kind of where they're at right now. There is a form here. If you do want to actually join this, you do like the set enough to want to buy it. You want to be one of those 75 plus people. Here's your chance, because it might not ever make a larger group buy than this run right here.
Good to know. Just looking at the set, I do like that it's SA and that we're not seeing constant GMK reruns. It's nice to see an SA set run for a change. So congratulations to Dixie on that, to trying to buck the trend a little bit. The price is looking around. I'm not sure if this is the actual price if you do purchase it now, but it says $160 on this page. Is that the actual price on the store, Dixie?
I don't know what the actual price is. I think that was an estimate from when he had the interest up previously.
Yeah.
So,
$149 it is. I'm just looking on the form now. It is $149. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I like the colorway on this. I do really like the colorway. The alpha color is really nice. It works really well with that dark mod color, and the accent keys work really well together. It feels to me like it's almost like a kind of more muted Honeywell kind of colorway. It's kind of like an easier on the eye Honeywell, not quite so bright and bold. So I really like this. I think it looks really, really nice and really interesting. I would be tempted to join it. Sadly, there's no ISO. I can understand why. He's only running it really small. It's not a full group buy. He's wanted to keep that base kit small. But there is good compatibility other than that in there. You've got 65% TKL. There's no numpad either, so it's just TKL and smaller boards, but 60% you can run multiple options on your bottom row as well. So,
yeah, I think we're missing the biggest point here is it does come with an accent Dixie key.
I hadn't seen that
which is like reason enough to buy this set alone. That plus the Magic City Enter, I like that. I'm always a fan of text-based novelties, so this is...
I had seen that. I was going to mention that. I do like that Magic City novelty. That is a really nice key. I do like that.
Yeah, and he has the BHM novelty here, which I'm going to guess means Birmingham, but I could be wrong.
For Birmingham,
isn't that what this is supposed to be? Yeah, Birmingham. Okay,
there you
go.
That's the Magic City, yeah.
Yeah, so I like it. I think it's a good-looking set. It's definitely one of the better SA sets I've ever seen. He's got a nice little theme homage here to his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, which is kind of adorable and endearing in a way. So, yeah. All-encompassing kit, $149. Not too bad, actually. It's not a ridiculous amount of compatibility, but it'll fit for a lot of users.
Yeah, it will do. Yeah.
A shout out to Functional, who just subscribed at Tier 1 for the 3rd month. Thank you very much, Functional.
Appreciate that, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, so pretty good looking set. Make sure you fill out this form if you're interested. Hop in on that. And
Pilot XJ says it's the airport code. BHM is the airport code for the local airport.
Oh.
So there we go.
Okay.
It's a good way of doing the novelty. I like that.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, moving on to something else that is also in group buy currently, GMK OG Spacekeys. So this is done by Heinebusch of Heinebusch Keyboards, and this is kind of an interesting take on a new spacebar kit. So obviously, with how popular split spacebar has become over the recent years, boards like the TGR Alice and the Prime E that just went in group buy recently, and tons more. there has been kind of a lack of supported spacebars in several different kits. And, you know, he kind of looks to correct that here with some compatibility. So basically for $35, it gets you all these keys, and these will support L9, CC, and CR, which are all stock GMK colors. He does have a list of what these will actually kind of go with, if you're curious. I'm not going to read them off because there are quite a few, but they're relatively common stock colors. They will match and or accent with a lot of existing GMK sets and upcoming sets. So, you know, I think this is kind of just a win-win. $35 is pretty cheap if you ever plan to own any keyboards with split space. You know, you probably won't have to worry as much as about that base kit supporting the split space when you can just grab some of these.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a really good way of introducing additional compatibility to a lot of different kits with just a handful of keys in 3 different colours. To be honest, it's a really clever way of doing it. It makes up for the fact that those sets didn't have that opportunity when they ran through group buy, which is sometimes a shame. But there's quite a few sets in here that I own and would like the split spacebar kit for, so I'll definitely be picking this up. And you know, it's stock colour, so it's not going to be something we're going to have a problem with matching colour codes or anything like that. It's going to be really easy to do. And Heine's expecting quite a quick turnaround on this of just 8 to 12 weeks, which is really good as well. So group buy is open until June the 12th, which is about 4 weeks away, just under 4 weeks away, and then roughly 8 to 12 weeks to complete the group buy from there. If you are outside of the US, you can buy it through Oblotski directly. There is a form to help you do that as well. So for any of the EU viewers or anywhere else in the world, if you do want to pick these up, you're not in the US, then there is a separate form. You can get to it off this page, so feel free to check that out as well. And that's been supported by Oblotski.
Yep, absolutely. Shout out to Frothy KK, who just subbed with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. As well as Sleepiness95, who also just subbed for 4 months with Twitch Prime, says, thanks for keeping me up to date with this stuff. You are welcome. We appreciate that you appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, make sure you hop in on this. Only $35 for a little bit of maybe future-proofing or extra compatibility if you're a split spacebar kind of person. And you have till June 12th to get in on that.
Excellent.
All right, let's move over to our next interest check for GMK Dracula.
Nice. Okay, so first things first on this set, guys, I want to call out that this is a really, really clever interest check. It's written in a unique, interesting way. Brian and I were talking about this one before the show. We really like how this one's all been set up with the ASCII art. It's got the whole kind of installing packages and using command line and all of that kind of good stuff, because it is another key set that's based on an IDE theme, and that theme is Dracula. So for those that you use different IDE themes for your day jobs, you'll know that there's multiple different ones. We've had Solarized Dark in the past, and now we're seeing the ones for GMK Dracula. So first, as I said, first thing is the interest check is laid out really, really well. There's a lot of stuff in there. In terms of the kits, there are multiple different kits, from the core kit, which is the base kit that has all of your compatibility in it.
Core module, Jay.
Well, the core module, sorry, yeah.
Let's
the core
do,
module,
do it justice.
So module. Okay. Which has got all of your usual compatibility in there. So it's got the full-on numpad, it's got your base kit, it's got your TKL stuff, it's got 65%, 60% ISO, alternate bottom rows, you name it, it's got it. It's one of these all-encompassing base kits, which I really like to see. But the kit that I like the most on here is the highlight module, which has got these really, really great, almost kind of pastel, but neon pastel kind of accent keys for multiple different layouts and arrow keys and things like that as well. They look fantastic. That being said, if bright colours aren't your thing, you can tone it down a bit, slow it down, and take a look at the night mode module, where you can see that there's almost a monochrome mod pack for this. If you don't like coloured legends on your mods, you can slow that down and go for a monochrome kit. And there's some other kits as well around white space and error modules and all of that kind as well for novelties too. But what do you think on this, Brian? Are you enjoying this? Are you liking the way that this interest check's laid out? Are you liking the kit itself?
I think the interest check is laid out absolutely phenomenally. I think it looks absolutely incredible. I love the way the colors look. I think he has all the kits pretty much perfect. I can't really see anything that I'd want to change here. Colors pretty darn nice. I will say that personally, people that know me know that I'm not a big fan of having a ridiculous amount of colors in a set. So these kind of CMYK, I'm assuming is what this is. This kind of CMYK approach to the modifiers, kind of like we've seen in the past on sets like Oblivion, on sets like Penumbra, GMK Solarized Penumbra, whatever, what have you. We've had a lot of sets that kind of do that, and I'm not really a big fan. They do give you, obviously, the night mode module option, which would be what I would take.
Sure, yeah.
Just because that's a little bit more up my style. But does this set seem a little too close to Solarized Dark?
For me, it doesn't. It's enough of a distinction away, I think. So, in terms of the legends on the mods, they're very different colors. Instead of being the RGB colors you see with Solarized Dark, these are very much their own custom colors. And I guess I guess your question is two-way open. Do you mean, is it close to Solarized Dark as Solarized Dark is as an IDE theme, or Solarized Dark as in the key set? Because those are two very different things.
As is the key set. But I mean, obviously, I always preface this a little bit by saying I am somewhat colorblind. People love to, comment on that, and I am okay with it. It's just, at a glance, I look at this, and then I look at my Solarized Dark key set, and it looks, to me, it looks somewhat similar.
It's different. It's very different,
okay.
Especially
Cool.
around the alphas. There's enough distinction on the alphas. The alphas here are clearly a warm grey, and on Solarized Dark, they're pretty much a warm blue, almost like a blue-green colour. So I think that is your colour blindness leading into it. But no, it's very distinctly different. I'd say that the difference between the two is broadly similar to what you would see between Dolch and Modern Dolch. It's kind of like a fairly strong difference, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I just like to give people the chance to make fun of me for it. Just don't judge me until you've tried my way of life yourself.
As some people in chat are suggesting, it is closer to Oblivion than it is to Solarized Dark. It's very different to Solarized Dark.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, great looking set then, and great looking interest check. I imagine this will probably definitely make it. It seems like a lot of people in chat are really liking this set. So...
Yeah, and I'm glad about that because I really like it, and I especially like, as everyone knows, both Brian and I love a text novelty key, and in the error module there are some really great error text keys as well, which I'm really enjoying. So I definitely want to pick this setup. I'm hoping it runs and goes to group buy. I'm hoping all of these kits get into there because I would definitely pick up some of these, if not the whole thing. So yeah, I really like this.
Dixie's saying we skipped the last kit? You mean the error kit?
No, I just wanted to cover it at the end when we talked about the novelties there.
Okay. I forgot to show off some of the renders on the actual board because he does have it rendered on a 910 here, looking pretty nice, yeah. Especially with the night mode module IMO.
Yeah, it's a good example of what you might be able to build, Brian. Something like that. It looks good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm an overall fan of how he's laid out the intro check for this. Really clever.
Yeah, I don't think he has any vendors lined up yet, and if he does, I have not found them anywhere in this interest check.
No, there isn't at the minute. So on his to-do list, he's got 40's Ortho and Split module, which he wants to add as an individual kit, take some feedback from the survey form and implement some of that feedback into the kits that he has today. And he also wants to do some desk mats potentially as well. So hopefully one of the vendors is going to reach out to him or something, or maybe a couple of them, get some different proxies around the world going for this one. I think this has got potential to be one of the bigger kits of this year. I think it looks really good.
Yeah. Dixie says, I'll take this any day of the week. There you go. There you go.
I bet he's already sent the email.
Piku Alu, I think is this user's name. Hit up Dixiemech if you want to go that route. He seems eager.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move on to another GMK interest check, which is actually the last of our key set news, which is pretty nice. You guys thought we were going to have another 16 GMK interest checks to talk about this week, but no. Only a few.
Yeah, this is the last one.
Only a few.
No, we should clarify that there are some that we have seen that we haven't included in the show this week. That's not because we don't like them or think they're not worth talking about, but they're probably not getting as much traction on Keycap or They aren't as developed in terms of the interest check themselves, and as we've talked about previously, we don't have the time to cover all of the interest checks that come up. Brian and I were talking about this before the show, and some of the interest checks that come up aren't enough to be an interest check. They're more of an idea for a key set, and if they come into kind of fruition, we'll pick them up at that point. So just to be clear, guys, it's not that we're snubbing anyone. We don't want anyone to feel left out, but we just want to really cover the stuff that we think has a strong chance of making it into group buy, and that tends to be the ones that have a really, really strong interest check and aren't just an idea, as in say, oh, I like these colors together, and here's a quick render I did on Keycap renders for free. The ones that have got a bit more thought and a bit more layout and a bit more time put into them is where we want to just try and prioritize and spend our time.
Yep, absolutely. So with that said, this is the interest check for GMK Nord by user GTRX. And this one seems a little bit like Dracula, maybe my color blindness, but it seems more like kind of a dampened, a little bit muted Dracula.
That's fair. Yeah. Again, it's named after an IDE theme, which is in this time it's Nord, which is supposed to be a little bit cooler, a little bit more muted in terms of that kind of feel and look to it. It is very similar. I think personally, I prefer Dracula to Nord. I don't know how you feel, Brian.
I'm gonna go against the grain here. I think most people would say that. I think I prefer this. Just because it is toned down a little bit more. I tend to like the more muted and dull kind of sets. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the kind of rainbow mod effects they like to seem to do on these, but I think here it's a little bit nicer for me. It's not quite as in your face as it is on other sets like Dracula.
And I think having icon mods for that rather than text mods, especially for your shifts and enters and things, is possibly why it feels that way. There's a lot less of that color on those keys as kind of one icon instead of a whole row of text. So that's probably helping you get that muted feel.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of a big fan of this set. I do think that Dracula also looked really good. I think that this looks really good. I think both of them would probably be high potentials to purchase for me. So I'm a big fan. I don't know why, but in this first render is really bothering me. He uses the tilde instead of the escape in this render on the 60%.
That's quite common. A lot of people do that.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that.
Really?
On a 60%?
It's in all the rest of his renders as well. Yeah. I've done it on a few of my 60% as well. It's just nice to have that kind of whole top row match. But yeah, it's a done thing.
Press F. Press F if you think Jay's trolling me. That's not common on 60%. That is not common.
I'm winding you up. I'm just trying to make you feel left out.
Regardless, I think that he does have some nice renders here. He has a nice base kit which has a fair amount of compatibility, but it's still missing some things.
Yeah, I mean, it's got numpad in there. You've got Sangan bottom row. You can do TKL 65%, 60%. You can do HHKB as well. It's got ISO support, which is nice to see. And you've got multiple variations for 65% that you can hit. So I think there's a fair amount of compatibility there. Again, if this is one of the lower priced kits that we see, $120 or less or something like that, then that's absolutely fine. I think it's broadly in line with kind of a lot of the base kits we're seeing today. But there, as with any key set these days, there's always more compatibility you can add, and a lot of times it's that balancing around what's the right number of keys to have versus the price for the kit and all of that kind of stuff as well. So I'm sure that's been taken into consideration.
Yeah, you know what I find actually kind of interesting on this? So he has 3 different boards that this has been rendered on, and all 3 of the boards are unreleased, which I thought was kind of interesting. So up top, he has the Polaris, which is the upcoming board by AIO3. It looks really promising. Really excited to check that out. And if he goes down a little bit further, he has maybe some lesser-known unreleased boards. This is the TI-65 by Phoenix Star. And this is a really intriguing-looking keyboard. And then just one step down from that, this is the WY-68 by Ender, which is also pretty intriguing. So I thought it was kind of fun that he has... instead of just doing the common, everyone, TGR Alice, TGR Jane, Rama M60A, like all the boards that people generally render on, this guy was like, I got this. let me show you some stuff you've never even seen before.
Yeah, I like the WI68. I have seen that before. I like the brass bar on there as well. That's kind of a board that's right up my street, is that one. But I hadn't seen the TI65 before, I don't think. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if that's an interest check that we've missed or.
Yeah, these are both new to me, I think. But I thought that was pretty awesome. Regardless, I think the set looks pretty nice. I'm excited to see where this goes. This is probably going to be something I'll wind up buying. So.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'll buy one or the other depending on which ends up getting to group by status. So we'll see. Mountain Blocks with an interesting comment here says, "I want to see the MOYAN 96 renders for this one." So yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
Oh man! Shout out to Pingu. Pingu, if you're listening, you gotta put the MOYAN 96 in the KeycapRenders.com configurator. Yep. Please. just for us. All right. So pretty nice stuff. We'll check this out again once it hits the group buy phase. Hopefully, interest check pretty well laid out. It'll probably, it seems to be having a fair amount of popularity already. So we'll see this once it actually hits the vendors.
Absolutely. But exciting times in terms of IDE themes. And speaking of exciting times, the next news item we wanted to talk about isn't particularly a group buy as such, but it is related to something that will be coming into group buy very soon, and that's the Verne. So for those of you who don't know, Zambamon has been working on the Verne for a little while now. We did a build stream of one back in January, one of the prototypes, which is actually the very same board that's wearing Sarika right at the top. That's the board that I have, but it's the same one. What's happened here is Zambamon's tried something new and interesting within the community. So instead of just doing a standard group buy where it released 35 units or 50 units or whatever, and allowing people to join via raffle or first come first serve, he wanted to try and do something a little bit different. Now, we know it's already happened. We know it's done. We didn't have a chance to talk about it last week on the show. We wanted to try and talk about what has happened and how that might impact the community going forwards. So what he did was come up with an idea to try and do a bit of a release of 8 of these boards early, and he did something called a victory auction, which is very different to what a normal auction is. And effectively how this works is everyone submits a blind bid, and the top 9 blind bids determine what happens for the rest of the buy for the 8 lucky winners. So what happens is out of those 9, the top 8 are the winners of the boards, and then the 9th bid then sets the price that those people pay. So the 9th highest price submitted as a blind bid then becomes the price that all of the people above that, the top 8, actually pay for their spots. So we've been interested in this one, and we've been watching this for the past week or so. Now, this happened earlier on today, or yesterday for me. So I was asleep, actually, when it happened, because I've taken a nap before the show. So I've tried to digest this and come up with some thoughts around it. And I was talking to Mr. Petrov and a few other people about this over the past couple of days as well. So the first thing to say is it's really, really great to try new things in the community. And whatever happens, we can always learn from it. And that's the great thing about stuff like this. So fair play to Zambamon for trying something new. It's absolutely fantastic to actually see a new way of doing things, to try new things, and to try and come up with some new ideas for the community to try and stop some of the problems we've got with the aftermarket. So as I say, the top 8 bidders get the board at the 9th bidder's price. They don't pay the price that they submitted. They've just located their slot effectively by being the highest blind bidders. And they'll now buy the board for $750. That's the price that came out at the end of it. That was the 9th highest bid. I assume there's been some trimming of the numbers either side where there's people had outlandish bids. I'm sure people submitted, fake bids of like $1 million or whatever, trying to game the system. So when Zambamon's had a look at the data and he's come out with it, that's the number that's come up. So the top 8 people are going to pay $750 for that board. Okay. There's a couple of things to think about here. So that's quite a lot of money. It's pretty expensive for a board, but it's only for these 8 units. And the idea behind this was to try and find a way to protect the aftermarket. So what we see a lot of times is people buy boards, they sell them then later on at a profit. So the example was number 2 a couple of weeks ago. It's a $900 board or a $600 board that was then sold on the aftermarket for $1,500. The challenge with this is that money is then going to the flipper. It's not going to the group buy runner, the designer, the people that have been involved or anything like that. That's kind of almost like a lost revenue stream for them. So the aim of this was to try and find a way of taking that revenue stream from the aftermarket and bringing it back into the people that matter, the people that are running these group buys, the people that are doing the designs, and all of that kind of stuff, by encouraging those people that are willing to pay a higher price to pay it upfront as part of an exclusive deal to get the board quicker, sooner, earlier, as part of that 8 in this particular instance, and to try and remove that negativity from the aftermarket later on. So I guess the question now is this a learning experience where it's worked, where it's failed, and how do we go from there? Now, I have some thoughts on this, and I've been noting it down. I shared my thoughts with Brian earlier on, but I'm conscious that I've been talking for about 5 minutes. So before I go into them, is there anything you want to add to what I've said there, Brian?
No, I want to let you finish before I say anything. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, as I said, it's great to try new things, and I think there's been a couple of bits and pieces that I can take from this. The first thing to note is that the $750 price probably causes a couple of concerns rather than fixes things, and let me explain what I mean by that. If the price had come out at about $500 and that 9th bid had been $500 and people had paid for it, it wouldn't have really had any impact either way. It would have been broadly what it's going to cost at group buy. It wouldn't have really affected the aftermarket. People wouldn't have been paying more. None of those profits would have gone to Zambamon or the other people involved in the group buy, and people would have still flipped them in 4, 5, 6 weeks time whenever the group buy happens. So that wouldn't have worked. So in the fact that it was above that, it's got more of an opportunity to work and to try and target some of those challenges that it's targeting, try and fix some of those issues. Now, flip side of this is if it had been significantly more than that $750 mark, if it had been $1,200, $1,500, $2,000, we're entering a lot higher stakes game here, and this is where we're starting to see that it would influence those whales. It would only be the people that could afford those top tier prices and not necessarily the mid tier, as we're starting to see that mid tier is increasing across the range of the community. And it would have potentially had the ability to limit the aftermarket by creating a barrier for entry to that. So what I mean for that is that the whales would have effectively come out of hiding up front. They'd have seen that this board was there. They'd have seen the hype generated. They'd have wanted to be able to get it early. They wouldn't have minded paying that higher price, and it would have potentially stopped anything happening in the after. My personal feeling, this isn't Top Clack's feeling as a whole, this is my personal feeling, is that $750 price has kind of come in somewhere in the middle of that, and it probably creates more problems than it solves, because what effectively it's doing is it's saying to anyone who's going to join the group buy that this is the market value for that board. If you buy the Verne, it's going to sell on the aftermarket for $750. It's not that people are paying an outlandish amount of money to be able to get the board early. If it had gone to $2,000, say, people are then now going to believe that it's an easy way to get $300-400 back from flipping the board on the aftermarket, and it's kind of almost become too low to let the market choose its own way on this one. It's kind of going to encourage that flipping potentially, and that's something that it was trying to avoid. So I am really, really happy that we're trying new things, but I think what this has done is it's taught us more about the environment and the barrier of entry into the community than anything else. So guess a couple of end thoughts for me on this one, because there's a few distinctions that I want to make on that. As a community, I think the right thing to do is to take away that opportunity from the flippers and put it back onto the designer in terms of who gets the allocation of funds out of the group buy. I think that's much more where the community should be going. This particular example possibly doesn't achieve that, and it'll increase the baseline flip potential rather than increasing the barrier to flipping, which is, not kind of the intended consequence of it. Thirdly, there's been a lot of contest about the price of this and how much money Zambamon is going to make on there. He had a minimum price of $410, I think, on this one, which I'm sure he was making a profit at that value. And that was why he had set it there, so that he would at least break even, if not make a little bit of money. So I guess one of the questions that I've seen bandied around a little bit is, when is a large profit too much profit? Is 50% profit or 100% profit? Is that too much? And I guess there's almost two arguments, and I think there's kind of a US and an EU split on this from what I've seen. Making large profits as a vendor in the US seems to be acceptable. It seems to be the capitalist way. In the EU, there's a very different sentiment that perhaps, sometimes it's too much, and that's how the community feels about it. Capitalism isn't always the answer, and stuff like this might lead to fragmentation going forwards. And I know it happens in other hobbies. We get a lot of fragmentations. You start to get into what becomes a new high end, a new mid tier, a new low tier, and you do get that fragmentation and splintering off and stuff like that. Now, I know what I paid for my prototype for the Verne. It's, a prototype. It was significantly more expensive than it was expected to be in group buy. I'm not going to share those numbers or anything here because that's not fair to Sample, and that was a deal we had together. But in terms of the prototype, it will have been more expensive to run than the previous units, but I don't feel that would make me comfortable with that $750 price personally. And I guess what that means is have we really addressed the issue around how we combat the aftermarket and people flipping? And I don't think we have potentially here. It's great to try something. I don't think this has quite worked. But what it has done is it's taught us a really valuable lesson about how the market itself and how the community itself is going to set prices going forwards and has the opportunity to set them. So we've definitely learned how we can identify that market value. But I think the open question is, how do we combat flippers going forwards? I mean, since I personally joined the hobby, we've seen the average entry point from boards for a group buy change. So, at that point, prices for an average group buy were $250 to $300. And sometimes outliers might have been $500. Now we're seeing very much that group buys are in the region of $300 to $500, and outliers can be $750 or $850. So we are seeing that going up, and I think there's even been a couple of 1K boards discussed on the show a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not against the high prices. That's not a problem for me. That's fine, especially if the materials and the processes around building them and designing them and machining them and all of that kind of stuff dictate that. But what I would be adverse to is celebrating having massively high profit margins whilst denouncing flippers, because that's a double-edged sword, and we run the risk of increasing the potential to flip on the aftermarket by setting these high prices for a potential select few. So that being said, there is a bit of trickle-down economics to this. Whenever we have high-valued boards, all of the features are trickling down. We saw that with the PLA board right at the beginning. We're seeing Gasket mount boards now coming in at the forefront as well. So that's just a few thoughts from me. I haven't really articulated what I think we should do because I haven't decided what we should do, or I haven't got any thoughts on that as yet. But that being said, I have got a fair bit of chunk of text which I shared with Brian with my thoughts to try and help me digest it. I don't know if anyone's got any questions for me on this, and I'm happy to discuss them at the end of the show if people do. But I just think it's interesting how the community is looking at this, and I think that we should definitely try and move forwards with new ideas and things like that. But I think that this particular one, whilst it's done part of the benefit that we want to do is giving Zampamon more money and got more money into his pocket, I guess the two questions off the back of that is, have we really stopped what's happening on the aftermarket? And have we really, should we really be encouraging massive amounts of profit in group buys? So that's just kind of like the way I'm thinking about it at the minute. I think there's ways to improve it. I won't go into them here. I'm going to try and write up a bit of an article with my thoughts on how we can improve this process and what other new things we can try, because there are other opportunities that I've experienced within the business world in my real life job that could help us look at the aftermarket and how we can reduce flipping and things like that. So I'm going to write up an article on my thoughts on how we can fix it. I just wanted to challenge the community and challenge you guys with some rhetorical questions from myself that we can look at later on in the show about what do you guys think. I hope that makes sense, and I know I've ranted for about 5 minutes there, so Brian, I'm going to let you talk while I have a drink.
No, I think you articulated it pretty darn well. I think it's fine to have those thoughts on it. And as you were talking, I don't know if you were looking at the comments as well, but people in chat were also just kind of voicing their opinions very, very well.
Sure.
There's some differing opinions, but I think most of us can kind of agree that the designer and or manufacturer or whatever, people involved in the products, involved in the projects, should actually be making some of this profit that the people in the aftermarket should not be making. So, if you flip a board or whatever, the designer gets none of that because they only get the price that was originally paid for that product, and nothing more. So, the idea here is that you effectively, through an auction or whatever other means you want to call it, you're charging a lot more than you otherwise would for a keyboard product. And when people buy that, then they're kind of voting with their wallets there. Obviously, here it was kind of a sealed auction kind of style, but people are, at the end of the day, people are paying $750 for these keyboards, and since that was the 9th highest bid, 8 people bid above $750. So obviously, people voting with their wallets, and a lot of people seem to be totally okay with paying these kind of prices for keyboards. You know, we've seen the Keycult number 2 stainless, I think it was $865. That sold out, instantly at like 10 units or something. Kepler was another $850 keyboard that we got to check out last week.
Sold out in a day.
Sold out in like 16 or 18 hours, yeah, and that was $850 for 50 units. It seems like people are totally fine with paying this kind of price for keyboards these days, and I think that I'd like to believe that the more expensive a keyboard is, the less percentage it'll flip for. That isn't necessarily always the case, but this is still a very new thing. Obviously, this auction kind of style that ZombieMon is taking here is a very new approach in terms of the keyboard world. We haven't really seen this work before in the past. We haven't really seen this done in the past. So I think that it's too early to say whether this was or was not a good idea, because I think we'll still be seeing the effects from this, for weeks or months to come. This just ended, like, today or yesterday or today or whatever. So, like, it's still very early to say, hey, it's this or hey, it's that. I think we're going to have to wait and kind of see what goes on with this before we can really make a true distinction and difference.
Oh, for sure. I think you're right. I think waiting to see how this pans out over the next coming weeks and months is absolutely what we need to do. And when we do start to see the actual group buy run for this, they'll probably tell us a lot about how the aftermarket is going to work as well. As you say, I think the two main aims that we were trying to do here was trying to stop people flipping on the aftermarket and trying to move some of those potential flipping profits back to the designer. I think we've covered the latter in some ways with this. I think that's worked in some respects for this, and ZombieMon has made a significant amount more money than what he would have if he'd sold them at group buy price. I think that's fair to say. Whether you agree with whether that should be how group buys are run or not is kind of irrelevant. That was kind of what ZombieMon said he was trying to address as part of the solution, and I'm all for more of the profits going to the group buy runners, designers, whoever's involved. I just think that we need to be careful around where do we draw the line at this is a hobby or this is a luxury good, where we start to put arbitrary values against stuff that don't have the necessary machining or quality or otherwise going into them. Because there's a marked difference between the amount of machining and quality and time and effort that went into the actual production, not necessarily the design, but the actual production of, for example, the number 2. There's a lot more machining involved there. There's a lot more production involved there than there is on the Verne. It's a much simpler product. So when you start to consider, are they actually worth the same at group buy prices? Probably, for me, there's a little bit of difference there. Now, it is the nicest TKL I own, wherever it is. It's on the wall behind me somewhere. And it is a fantastic board, so I don't want to take anything away from that. I just think that, like all boards, you wouldn't consider, an exclusive TKL the same as a Jane, for example, and things like that. So you just need to work out where that price brackets sit. So I think we just need to, as you say, Brian, sit back and wait and see how this goes. But there's a lot we can take from it. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in chat. I am going to watch the chat back and try and see what people are saying. I think it's always kind of that perpetual argument in keyboards of whether something is or is not art, something is or is not a collectible. I think in terms of trying to limit flipping and try to detract flipping, it's tough. Like, I feel like it's almost always going to happen, and I don't think I don't think we have like a very good way to combat it. I don't know how well this is going to go over. I don't know how well other solutions may or may not go over. It's going to be hard. We are going to have to just wait and see, and hopefully this has an effect. And if it doesn't have an effect, or if it has the opposite effect, we'll probably have to rethink and try something different. But at the end of the day, it's like, is it a collectible? Is it art? What should these things be worth? Like, in a lot of the reason I think is because we don't really know what manufacturing costs always are. So like when you join a group buy for $300 or $400 or whatever, we don't know how much that product actually costs in terms of material, in terms of labor, manufacturing, design time, whatever, however you value your time as a designer, things like that. There are so many variables that people don't really think about that are kind of just going on at the back end here. And without knowing, what the actual raw value of this is, before actually going to group buy price, because obviously in group buy price, like the group buy runner and or designer, manufacturer, whatever, is going to make some profit there. You mark it up to cover, things and make a little bit of a profit, and that's fine. That's normal. But without knowing all the prices beforehand, it's hard to say
it's supply and demand, right?
Yeah, it is. I think the question here is, if we found out that a designer was going to run one of these raffles, he had a great design, he'd spent a couple of weeks working on it, he'd got a prototype produced or whatever, and his cost per board was $200, and then he ran one of these auctions and they were all sold for $2,000. Are we comfortable as a community he's making 10 times the cost as his profit? I guess that's kind of where we're starting to look at with these numbers. And I know that's a bit more extreme than this particular example, but are we comfortable with there being more profit than cost of production? Because that's something that we are going to have to face into as it's something that's potentially going to happen. It's a way that we're starting to trend towards in terms of some of the prices. And that's what happens with luxury goods right now. If you buy a Chanel handbag, that is massively overpriced compared to what the actual cost of production is. It probably costs them pennies to produce, and they sell it for $1,000 at a time. So we're moving towards that kind of, is this still a hobbyist culture, or is it actually a high-end luxury good where we have designer brand names that we're paying significant multiple times the value of the product over and above for the actual courtesy of owning one? So it's something that we have to be aware of. I know in the US, capitalism is always king and all of that kind of stuff. In the EU, it's very different. There's a lot of other socioeconomic kind of variables and things like that. So different people are going to have different views. The great thing about this community is that we all do have different views, and we all get on 90% of the time well with them. There's no right or wrong answers here. The idea that we can differ but still be best friends at the end of the day is a really good thing about this community. So yeah, it's something to bear in mind. It's I can see people tagging me, sorry, it's distracting me.
Yeah, no,
it's something to bear in mind though.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong, guys. The whole point we do stuff like this on Top Clack is to try to affect your judgment on what you already believe, per se. We're not trying to change your mind. We're not trying to say this is this way and this is that way. This is merely it's a thought-provoking experiment. We're trying to get you guys. We're trying to get you guys a little bit more involved. Trying to maybe talk about some different points and different discussions, even if it means Jay and I have to debate or argue against one another in things that we may or may not even believe in. We're just trying to get the information out, try to get your brains flowing a little bit, and just try to. Hopefully, we can all learn from everything. That's the main goal here.
And just to be completely clear, some of the things that I discussed as discussion points earlier on, they're not necessarily my thoughts. I'm playing devil's advocate with a lot of these. I'm just going by different thought process and trying to put myself in different people's shoes, how different people think about it. These aren't our opinions. I think one or two bits were my personal opinions, but the vast majority of it is in terms of we're trying to think, what are the pitfalls of this? What are the pros and cons? Nothing's perfect. There is positives and negatives to everything, and we're just trying to highlight some of those. So please don't start to berate us because you disagree with us in some way. It's kind of just a thought experiment at the minute to try and get you guys thinking, as Brian so articulately explained a few minutes ago.
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't, one way or the other, I don't really actually have thoughts. I don't really have, finalized thoughts on this entire situation yet.
Same.
So, so we're kind of just, we learned about this, very recently. So we're kind of just saying what we can about it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we can pretty much all agree that we want to see flipping minimized, or minimized, or just taken out entirely, and we want to see the people that actually put in the work, the designers, the artists, whatever, what have you, to actually be making a larger percentage of profit off of these aftermarket prices. So
yeah. So absolutely. So as I say, just to reiterate, those were some of the thoughts that Brian and I talked about earlier on. A lot of them were things I just noted down before the show. Playing devil's advocate with a lot of them. Don't take them as our personal opinions in the vast majority of it. It is very much to get you guys.
Yep. All right. And I think that's probably about as much time as we should spend on this topic. So let's continue.
We'll cover the group buy when it actually gets into group buy in a couple of weeks when we do the traditional stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have an interest check for the Golden Delicious PCB, which is an Apple M0116 replacement PCB. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this one, Jay?
Yeah, so this is a PCB replacement for the M0116 and M0118 Apple boards. I think there was a teaser that the runner of this shared previously, and there was quite a lot of interest that he got off the back of it. So effectively what he wants to do is offer a better fully programmer alternative than the Griffin or Hasu converters, and have fully converted M0116 and M0118 boards to be able to use with modern computers without the need to modify your case, without the need to modify your switches or anything else. so you can do it yourselves direct. And this is going to be QMK compatible. Nothing over the top here. It's really simple. It's just a replacement PCB. It will allow you to use the board continuing to go forwards, and it's just a really simple interest check for things like that as well. So it's going to come fully assembled. It'll have all the SMD components soldered on there, so it'll be a fully usable PCB with QMK. And full-size USB-B, just because it's vintage boards, it fits better in the port, I suspect. So there we go, guys. I don't know what you want to think about it, or what you think about it, Brian, even, to be honest. But I think this is really nice to see some people taking some initiative and bringing some of those older boards back in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think replacement parts are pretty much always a good idea, and we've always had a section of the community that really is interested in the vintage market in particular. So I think it's always nice to see. I think that's definitely a very, very reasonable part of the community that we should definitely be looking into. So I'm all for it. I see no downsides really here.
Yeah, same. I'll be watching this King because I've got an old MO116, so yeah, I'll probably pick one of these up.
Nice. Speaking of PCBs, we have another interest check for the C3 Equalz LDN RGB PCB R2, adding 60% to this on top of the already existing A87 TKL PCB. So this is pretty simple, guys. There's not really a whole lot going on here. It's an RGB PCB. That's pretty much how it goes. But this one is $50 plus shipping, so relatively inexpensive as far as RGB PCBs go. We have seen similarly priced RGB per key PCBs on places like KBDfans with their KBD6X RGB in the competing kind of price range there. This one will run on TKC, the key company, and they'll have some proxies as well. But if you're into per key RGB, then this could totally be for you.
Yep, I agree. If you need something like this, it could be an option for you. Potentially some competition to HS60 and Zeal's offerings, given the opportunity here, and the price is quite low. But yeah, it's interesting to see.
Yeah.
The best thing about this, though, is the title. And I know we were laughing about this before the show, Brian, but the C3 Equalz LDN RGB PCB R2. It's just a raft of acronyms and
yeah. I feel like if I were brand new to the hobby and I were looking at this, I'd be like, what does any of this mean? But one thing I did want to touch on, he does say as his first point here, a new software that have better interface and more function this time. So I want to know what that means. Does that mean QMK? Does that mean VIA? Does that mean something totally different and new? I hate when people are kind of sneaky about how the PCB is supposed to be programmed. What kind of firmware can we expect? I think that's kind of information that we just need on hand these days. Someone saying later on in the thread, he says it's not QMK. Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I'll read this out. It says, I understand your concerns. Our PCB is all developed by us, so it's not QMK or bootmapper. We have our own software to control it. Certainly not trying to make them fail. Our one PCBs may suddenly die for some reason. We took time to find out why, and we came up with a fix for it, effectively, is what the rest of it says. So it's their own software, effectively. Okay,
interesting. That's that can always be scary, but we'll see how it goes. I think with how kind of universal QMK is in our community and how much easier it is to use now than it used to be, I don't really see an excuse not to use QMK, if I'm being honest. Particularly if you can talk your way into getting the VIA support for that configurator, because that is just the bee's knees.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But hey, we can hope. We can hope, right?
As long as these don't have the failure rate that the original PCBs did, then I think this is a good opportunity for people who are looking for a replacement.
Yeah. All right. So to round off our news doc, we have a very, very soon upcoming group buy, the Nutcracker V2, which we have covered in Interest Check before. There isn't a price listed, but I did get told this is going to be $35 before shipping. So not too terribly bad here. This is going to start on May 18th, and it's going to run until the 31st, so about 2 weeks open there. It opens in 2 days, guys. So make sure you check this out if you want to get a nice high-end switch opener. We've seen so many switch openers in the community over the last year. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, this is... Sorry, go on.
Is this going to be like the high-end switch opener, the premium luxury edition switch opener?
Potentially. It does do both variants of switches, so it will be nice for that. I'll pick one up as well, try and compare it to my original Nutcrackers. But I do think it is something that we touched on a couple of weeks ago. But I think that high-end tools and options for keyboard builders and the community is something that people are getting into now. Not just in terms of these Nutcrackers. I'd love a metal version of my little stem holder tweezers and things like that. So, this is a new opportunity for people to look at tools to help builders.
Yeah. So this is going to be offered in.
To refresh the page.
I already refreshed. The price still isn't there.
Right.
However,
there are different options.
There are colors option available now. So now we have a blue, a pink, and a purple. I like seeing that. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Can I have a pink one, please? That looks really nice.
Same,
like
please.
Yeah.
I definitely want to try one of these out because I've actually used a lot of the key openers like around the community now. I've been kind of just testing them, and honestly, like I still go back to the key boss, which is like not a very elegant looking solution, but it's like the most effective thing that I've used so far.
Oh, really? See, I prefer the Nutcracker V1. That's why I've gone to my key bosses in a drawer and I don't use it anymore.
I want to prefer the Nutcracker V1, but I'm just I'm much slower on it than I am with the key boss.
Right. Okay. See, I'm the other way. I'm faster with the Nutcracker than I am with the other one. So yeah, interesting.
Will you stop trolling me, Jay? Come on.
No, I'm not. Seriously, it's true. I genuinely use the Nutcracker. I find it faster and easier to use than the keyboard. And I'll tell you for why. I find it easier to hold in the palm of my hand, so I can hold it in the palm of my hand, push the switch on, pull the top off, and all of that kind of stuff. Whereas the key boss, you kind of have to hold it vertical like that, where I can press the Nutcracker in the palm of my hand. So that's the difference. But that's why I'm fan.
All right, whatever, Jay. Whatever. Just kidding.
You don't have to agree, but we can still be friends.
We'll see. Anyways, yeah, so, make sure to check this out. People are telling me to check out the Prism as well. The Prism is not up for group buy yet, as far as I'm aware.
I think it is, actually.
Oh, is it?
I think so. It's up for group buy. I'm just looking on KBDfans site. Yeah, it's up for group buy on KBDfans, so we'll cover that in the vendor section when we talk about our sponsors.
Okay, yeah, because we have not actually covered it as a news topic. Maybe we should just talk about it right after this.
Okay, sure. We can do that.
Could someone post that KBDfans link to that?
I've got it. I've got it here.
Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to that. So if you're interested in the Nutcracker V2, that launches in 2 days for $35, and I guess there's going to be an all brass version for $50. Man, this really is a premium option. I like that.
Yeah, I still want the pink one. I don't want brass. I want pink.
I kind of want the brass now. Maybe I want a pink and a brass. The pink is really nice, though. I really like that particular shade of pink. All right, cool. So we'll have to hopefully maybe get our hands on a proto of one of those. All right, let's check out this the Prism, which also just opened. This is pretty darn new. I remember we covered the interest check for this, I think, a while back, but
we did, yeah.
Now we're checking out the group buy format version, which is offered in an array of colors: black, silver, purple, burgundy, red, blue, gray, rose gold, and olive green. I haven't looked at this thread at all, by the way, guys, so this is kind of all on the fly. This one's also designed by AIO3, just like the much smaller, I think probably even cheaper key switch opener that they had up previously. This version, I think, just like the last version, is a 2-in-1 solution. So just like the previous version and the Nutcracker V2, this will open both MX and KL style switches. And it's just kind of a two-piece design there. It looks good. It looks a little bulky. Maybe I just don't like the bulkier ones.
I think this looks really nice. I think this is going to have that kind of whole similar size base to the Nutcracker V1, where you can really rest it in the... I mean, I've got massive palms and short stubby fingers, so it probably works better for me, but I can just rest it in my palm and I can hold on to it nicely and things. I think this looks really nice. It's well designed. Again, it's an elegant solution with both options knitting together tightly. You can use both options independently, so if you're doing multiple switches or if you're taking your halos apart to steal the stems to put them into yacht housings, for example, you can have both of these on the go at the same time, whereas with the previous switch opener we looked at, you can't necessarily. You have to use one side, then flip it over, and then use the other side. So depending on how you build style goes, that might be a bit more of an elegant solution.
Yeah, I think this definitely looks nice. This comes out at a bit cheaper of a price too, $28. So could be better or worse depending on who you are. I don't know. I think the Nutcracker V2 is a sexier looking key opener than the Prism.
Okay.
I think this is probably going to be very nice and very functional. but I don't think it looks as nice, personally, to me.
I think we need to do a road test of both of these. We need to get both on the show and do a bit of a road test. That's what we need to do. So, yeah, AIO3 and Way, if you want to help us with that, and same with Dixie and TN New Labs, then we will happily do a bit of comparison and try these out.
Yeah, we should have a race where we each have like 7 different key openers, or however many are on the market nowadays.
And we've got to do 10 switches with each key opener, and we'll see who gets through. Yeah, that'd be
really
good.
we'll actually race on stream. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I like that. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there is that, and that is actually going to round out our news doc for today. So let's
Talisman Solution saying he wants a switch opener with crevice lighting.
Oh my god, that's going to be the next thing on the horizon? RGB switch openers. I'm calling it now. Yeah,
RGB switch openers with a battery inside.
Yeah, you're gonna have a battery. You have a PCB in there. It's gonna be silly. It's gonna have 236 RGBs for crevice lighting.
If you could fit 236 RGBs in that, I would be very.
if you can, you probably should be.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough about switch openers. We are going to move into our sponsor section in just one moment. Before we do, just a reminder, guys, if you want to ask us any questions, if you've got any thoughts you want us to discuss, if you've got anything that you'd like to know from Brian or myself, then please do post your questions now, because as soon as we've got through our sponsor section, we're doing our FAQ section, our Q&A section. So get your questions in there. Do tag us. Make sure you tag at TopClack so we can see them nice and easily, and we'll respond when we get through the next section.
Yep, absolutely. Do you want to start us off, Jay, or would you like me to?
You go first, Brian. Why not? We'll let the ladies go first.
Oh, that's so kind. That's so kind of you. Are you also buying me a pink Nutcracker V2? So first and foremost,
I'll buy you one.
Yay! We have zealpc.net/TopClack if you'd like to use our affiliate link. And as usual, he has lots of different switches going on, whether you want tactiles or linears, silent linears or silent tactiles. He's got you covered, lots and lots of choices. I've really been enjoying this entire lineup of switches lately, quite a bit. So I definitely suggest, if you guys are into that, you haven't tried any of the V2 Zeal lineup, you definitely should. I think they're remarkably better than the V1 lineup, if I do say so myself. Free shipping on orders over $150 if you're in US or Canada. It's a little bit higher for the rest of the world, but you can actually choose... Oh, I always forget that OBS doesn't work with drop-down menus. But you can change your currency now if you're not paying with PayPal, so that way you can get a little bit better of a conversion rate. So that's a little bit new addition to the site that should help out international buyers quite a bit, so make sure to check that out. And of course, use our affiliate link, zealpc.net/TopClack. If you do want to buy from Zeal and you want to support TopClack simultaneously, doesn't cost you anything extra, but gives us a nice little kickback, so we definitely appreciate if you guys do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, our second sponsor that we want to talk about today is the wonderful Novel Keys. So thank you again, Mike, for my anniversary gift. I genuinely appreciate that. But looking at Mike's store, if you want to support Novel Keys, just like we do at TopClack, there's a couple of things that you should check out. The first thing is the Star Wars Galactic Empire DSA Keycap set is available for buying and shipping immediately. There's 2 versions. You can get the full Aurebesh kit, or you can get the Aurebesh kit with English sublegends as well, which just allows you to pick and choose how you're going to look and feel with the set. $250. It's officially licensed, so that explains a high price. This is licensed by Disney as a true Star Wars product. It comes from Signature Plastic, so we know it's got that high quality look and feel and touch to it, and it is in DSA profile. So if Star Wars is your thing, if you like Aurebesh Legends, if you like this key set, feel free to go and check that out. Moving away from key sets briefly, there's also the Novel Keys t-shirt options. There's 2 new options on there. There's kind of a t-shirt with the Novel Keys logo over the top corner, which looks really, really nice. Multiple different size options as well available on this one. So no matter how large or small you are, there should be something that fits you. It's a really, really nice design. It's one of the newer logos. The second t-shirt is also the baseball type shirt, which has got that kind of 2-tone look to it with the nice the font across the middle. Now, I don't know much about baseball, but I recognize that straight away as being a baseball type font, and I think it looks fantastic. I'm definitely going to be picking one of these up. T-shirts aren't your thing, and you do want to get back to keycaps. The other thing that's going on right now is where you can support Zambamon and Novel Keys by looking at GMK Striker. This is in group buy now. It's a very, very simplified base kit, but it's got a great price attached to it. It's only $100 for that core base kit, so it is really, really cheap. There's also a couple of novelty keycaps as well available from Rama if that's your thing too. And finally, if you are going to shop with Novel Keys, please don't forget that you can use our promo code, which is Clackers. That's CLACKERS, and that runs through until the end of this month.
Yep, that'll get you 5% off if anyone is wondering.
It's 5%
on in-stock items. So yes, and also maybe pick up a little Novel Keys bottle opener. These are so adorable. I've actually been using mine lately.
Oh, have you? I haven't used one yet today, but I have got one here. It is really nice.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. All right, so next up we have Kono.store, where you can find all sorts of different products from Input Club, starting with SA Granite, which is a very popular colorway. If you've been around the community for a while, you probably remember this in DSA format. It was probably like the highest selling key set of all time, like the most popular key set in like 2015. And this was the bee's knees. Back now in SA format, starting at $60 just for your base text kit. Pretty darn inexpensive if you want to maybe just hop in, grab one of those kits. SA Arcane Group Buy is also still live right now. You can pick that up. That didn't do so hot in the DSA interest check, but now we're trying again in SA, and it looks like it's doing a little bit better, starting at $100 there for the base kit. You can still pick up Kira's in stock, and there's still a group buy going on for the all-metal Kira Stealth, which is pretty darn nice as well. And make sure to join this waiting list for the Keystone, because the Keystone is going to be very interesting. This lineup of keyboards is going to feature the Silo Beam switches, as well as the Silo Command and Silo Control. That's right, so an entirely new line of switches coming soon from Input Club. These are all looking really, really interesting, and I'm really stoked to check this out. Hopefully we can get a proto, is what I'm hoping for, because I'm really, really stoked.
It would be nice.
I'm really stoked on trying these out.
Definitely want to try it. Even if you just get a handful of the switches, I'd love to try those out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, who we got up next?
Okay, moving on to KBDfans. So this week, KBDfans, I'm just posting that link in chat, do have a number of different things that we wanted to talk through. So first up is SA Leviathan is in group buy right now. So if you are interested in an SA keycap set that we haven't covered today with some of the other options, then you can look at SA Leviathan. Prices start from $60 for the base kit, and there's a few other different kits. And when I say a few, I mean there's a ton of them. So you can get pretty much all the coverage that you want. Now this is a Max Key set, and Max Keys have extended their capability in terms of coverage of boards by introducing new key profiles and things like that. So they've introduced ISO and additional spacebars and all things like that as well. And the best feature of this is if you do want to buy every single kit and be able to cover 3 or 4 different boards with it, then you can just click on the all button and spend $435, I think it is, and buy the whole lot as well. If that's not your thing, then you want to look at something else, then you can look at the switch opener that we talked about just a few minutes ago, the AI03 Prism switch opener. That is in group buy right now for $28. Multiple different colors, and opens both Kale and MX style switches, so should work really nicely. If you want to look at key sets as well, but SA Leviathan wasn't your thing, then you can look at EPBT Extended 2048 as well. So this is an Apple-inspired key set. It's based on the old Apple keyboards. It looks fantastic. It's EPBT, so we know it's going to be high quality, and that group buy runs for a little bit now. I'm just trying to get my page to load because it's been really slow for some reason.
A little less than 2 days left right now.
A little less than 2 days, yeah. So it's almost right at the end, yeah. So it's just finally worked and loaded for me. But this is, a really classic looking colorway. It does replicate those old AEK keycaps. So if that's your thing, please feel free to check it out.
Yeah, and the base kit is pretty nice for $75 IMO.
It is. It's a really good price for the base kit. I'm really really happy I grabbed this earlier on this month.
Yep. And last but not least, we have our fresh new sponsor that you can check out over on Dixiemech.com/TopClack. That is an affiliate link, guys. So once again, if you want to buy from Dixiemech while simultaneously supporting us, that's how you do it. You use dixiemech.com/topclack. It's got a few things going on right now, including the very popular GMK Mizu keyset group buy, which has been going on for a little bit now. Closes May 29th, so you still got a little bit of time left on it, about 13 days. And this is an absolute home run of a set, if I do say so myself. I ordered it day one. I was already in there, like swimwear, because it's freaking amazing. Lots of different add-ons to that as well, including the amazing desk mats. I think this one, the Twila. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I freaking love this desk mat so much. So you can check that out.
This was great.
Yeah, it's freaking great. And of course, just like we had mentioned earlier, in 2 days' time, the Nutcracker V2 will be going up for group buy, starting at $35. And yeah, make sure to grab one of those as well, and maybe consider using our affiliate link for it.
Yeah. And just to call out as well that I really do like the novelties from Rama for the Mizu set as well. So that navy with the glow infill keycap is phenomenal. I'm a really big fan of that. I hadn't seen that until just now when we were looking at it. But yeah, I need to add that to my Mizu order, I think. That looks
man. Man, now I want to add it. I already talked myself out of getting the Rama novelties, but like, I kind of want them now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the glow one is the one I'll pick up. Just because,
I think they're both pretty good. I think the white is actually like, I think it looks nicer as the accent. If you do use like the accent enters and stuff, I think the white looks even better personally. But if you don't use accents, I think the navy is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, let's not ramble too much about that. All right, so let's get back to our Q&A segment starting now. So if you guys have questions, we hopefully have answers. Make sure you use the @TopClack tag so we can see them a lot easier. It helps us out quite a bit, guys. So get those questions rolling in before we head off for the day.
Yeah, just scrolling back through the chat a little bit, I think the first thing was Gio saying, Jay, show your switch breaking device you're testing. If you'd asked me before the show, I would have done. I can't. It's in the garage at the minute because it's quite loud, so I don't have it in the home office. I'll try and take some pictures during the week. Share those with you. That's not a problem. Any other questions?
I don't think anybody actually asked any questions when you had asked them to ask questions.
I did remind people to ask questions.
I know. No one likes you, Jay. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Except for me. I like you. Pilot XJ asking, I just got my first Topra board. Where are all the keycaps? What?
In Japan.
Oh, like aftermarket keycaps? KBDfans does sell multiple aftermarket Topra sets for not only HHKB but also Real Force, and I think there's some that even have FC660C compatibility. So if you're looking for aftermarket keycaps, I think KBDfans is pretty much the only place you can kind of look at right now.
Yeah. I don't know any of this. I know that Idea23 Bus Gamer, he was making some kits previously, and I know that Glove Caps here in the UK does make Topra mod sets as well, so I'm happy to put you in touch with Glove if anyone does want that. Just PM me on the Discord and I can put you in touch. He's a really good artisan maker. I did actually go visit him and see how he makes his artisans a couple of weeks ago, and I am going to make a little bit of a montage of where I documented the process by taking a lot of pictures and stuff like that, so I just need to find the time to do it, but expect a short minute or two video on the Top Clack YouTube channel shortly showing that.
Beast Troll asking, are you open to enabling better Twitch TV / Frankerface Z emotes?
I don't know what Frankerface is, but we want to do better Twitch emotes. It's something that we're looking at as part of our redesign. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, once we hit partner, it'll be a lot easier to do this kind of thing. But you got to remember, Jay and I are like kind of old. We're not too up. We're not too hip on all like the emotes that people use these days. Unfortunately, but obviously we do want you guys to be able to use emotes and stuff that you want in custom icons and stuff. So that is something we are planning on working on as well. Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Violet Viceroy says, does anyone still sell acrylic sandwich cases? Yes. So here in the EU, I know that there's Clavier. You can also get them from Sprit, but Sprit's probably a bit of a subject right now, so I probably wouldn't recommend that at the minute. But I think, is there any US vendors that you know of, Brian, that still do sandwich style acrylic cases?
I don't know. I haven't seen anyone do it lately.
Clueboard? I think that you could get Clueboard. You could probably get. At one point. I don't know if you still can.
You could probably get Clueboard board variations, but that's kind of specific. as far as like 60% or TKL, 75% stuff like that, I don't know. Now that Winkeyless.kr has shut down, is Gone still doing stuff? I mean, that's obviously also based in Korea. I don't know if he's still doing stuff, but
I think he's still massively behind on his custom PCBs, if I remember rightly. So,
well, he's always been like 3 years behind on his queue or whatever. So
yeah, I think he's still just that far behind, but he's still taking orders from what I understand. So, so pass. I guess we haven't really covered anything recently, Violet Viceroy, but there is some EU vendors I know. So Clavier, you've probably seen a lot of his stuff on the Reddit. He is about, so if you just search for him on there, you might be able to find some. I think he's called Getting Shit Done is his username, so you should be able to find him on there. Or on Instagram. He's under Instagram on Clavier, so you'll be able to find him there.
Alright. Thorkin asking, with both new Switch openers coming, any preference? I think the Nutcracker V2 looks more elegant. I like the way it looks more than the Prism. But I imagine they're probably both going to be pretty awesome and pretty functional. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
I mean, until we actually use them, we can't. It's hard to know.
We want to test both. Yeah. So I think we probably Brian probably prefers the Nutcracker V2. I think the AIO3 one looks quite good. So we'll get both at some point between us, and we'll test them out, and we'll let you know better once we've got them on hand.
Yep.
But I think both look good. I don't think you'll be disappointed with either product. I think both will do exactly what you need it to do. We'll review them as well.
Yeah.
Lumin's asking, is it crevice or crevos?
It's
crevice.
It's tomato.
Yeah, okay. It's aluminum.
It's aluminium.
Question that we weren't tagged, but it says it comes from Dead Last. It says, we know Brian is a fan of POM plates. At Jay, have you given them a go? Yeah, I've given POM and polycarbonate plates a go. Personally, I prefer a firmer board to a softer board, so it doesn't really work for me. In fact, the last board I built with a really soft plate was the Cypher with a polycarbonate plate. I'm actually going to change that out in a couple of weeks for a carbon fiber one, which is a little bit firmer, probably similar to brass in terms of its firmness rating. So that's just my personal preference. I think they do sound fantastic. If you like sound, and that's really important to you, I think they do sound really good. But bear in mind that they are a little bit more flexible than standard plates. So if you like that, fantastic. If you don't, maybe consider some of the other density stick. Interestingly enough, I do know that Zondat is about to run a 5mm polycarbonate thick plate group by now. Brian and I have actually been lucky enough to try out the prototype for that. And my thoughts on that was it felt like broadly the same as 1.5mm thick aluminium, even though it's 5mm thick. But it does have a lot of warmer sound profile. I don't know if you found the same thing, Brian.
Yeah, it's obviously it's more material, so it's a little bit denser, a little bit richer of a sound. I definitely preferred it. Unlike Jay, I tend to prefer the more flexier experiences. So while I did like the 5mm polycarb, I actually opted to throw in a 1.5mm polycarb to get a little bit more flex there to kind of make use out of that Noxquery T60, which has the tray mount, but it has the center poles cut out, so you actually get a little bit more flex towards the middle. It's not perfect, but as far as tray mount goes, I think it's pretty darn nice. I like the additional flex, particularly with the polycarbonate plate.
Nice. Which reminds me, are you sending my T60 back, or are you keeping it?
Yeah, I'll probably send it back to you, but I want to make sure I send everything that I need to send you at once instead of doing multiple packages, since international shipping is a rip.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. Opdoc says, Top Clack, are you guys looking forward to when people start making limited switch opener runs and the subsequent flipping of said openers? Well, I think we're going to see a limited switch opener run with the brass unit, right? I know it's got a brass weight in it for the Nutcracker V2, so I think we're already there in terms of actually seeing limited versions of switch opener.
Give me the limited runs, give me the 236 RGB LEDs.
Crevice switch openers when?
I'm ready to drop 150 on a switch opener here. It's got to have that top tier feature set, and it's got to be limited to like 5 units.
Yeah. Let's put up as many gatekeeping opportunities as we can, guys. Yeah.
It wasn't a question, but Beast Troll did follow up and said actually both services are free when we're talking about the emote stuff. Says I can put on the most popular ones if you give me permissions. I'm not really sure how to do that, but you're free to message me on Discord or something.
Reach out to us.
If you want to help us with that, yeah, we're Jay and I are not hip enough to know all the emotes and stuff. I pretend like I know sometimes, but I really don't.
We just don't. Yeah. Upas says, "How about those Mastrop Holy Pandas?" I think you've already covered this, Brian, right at the very top of the show, but they're Holy Pandas, guys.
Yeah, I have an article up on the website. It's cross-posted to Reddit if you want to check it out. Basically, TLDR is they feel like Holy Pandas to me.
Hold on, I'll post the link back in for those that want to use it. Where's the link? There it is. So posting the link back into chat. There you go.
Perfect.
Okay, next question comes from Minanit, which says, "How come 3U and 3.25U split space is not a thing? I would prefer that to 2.25, 2.75, and 1.25U." We are seeing more and more people adopt 3U spacebars. That is, something we're seeing across the community. I think we're actually starting to see actual 3U spacebars available from a number of manufacturers as well. I think over time, split space will probably evolve. It's not a thing for me. I only use it where I have to. I think I've only, I've only got one board now that has it, which is the VEA, which is just up here. Now I don't have the Alice any longer because that's funding my Seattle trip. Brian, I don't know if you've got any more experience with split space. I try and avoid it where I
have very limited experience with split spacebar, but I would assume the reason why we see 225 and 275 way more commonly is because those keys are actually involved in base sets to begin with.
Sure.
There's no GMK base set, for example, that is going to give you 3U shift or 3.25U shift for your split space-bars or just space-bars in general. But you are going to get a 2.25U shift, sometimes even two of them, and you are going to get a 2.75U shift in your GMK base sets, so you don't have to buy additional keys to get that same compatibility. It's obviously not ideal. Obviously, a lot of people would rather just actually have space bars, but it's easier, more accessible, and cheaper to just use the shift keys for split space bars than it is to try to find 3U or 3.25U. And until we get more of that compatibility, we're probably not going to see that many boards actually feature those size of space bars.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving down to the next question then, Blue Note says, "Where can I get a lubing station, a grid for putting multiple switches so I can lube a bunch more quickly?" I think Nebulant's actually already posted the link, but I got mine, which is here from AliExpress. There are also other alternatives that you can get. Clavier, who I mentioned, does acrylic cases, also does his own version, and I think Keyboard Bell does do 3D printed ones as well. Alternatively, if you do have access to a 3D printer station yourself, you can make your own. And I think Sprit and a couple of, I think even TX Keyboards had one at one point on their website as well. So there is multiple different places, but my first port of call would always be the link that Nebulant shared where I get mine.
Yeah, it's pretty inexpensive. A lot of people have it. It's kind of tried and true. It may not be amazing, but it works.
It works really well, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely a good question. Corbin Dallas asking, "Are either of you into custom PC community? Any upgrades you'd like to do to your computers?" So I was really, really heavily involved in custom PCs before I came over to keyboards in 2014. And I built a lot of computers and I upgraded my PC a lot. Actually, my PC is still from like 2015. I went pretty cutting edge at like 2015. But I haven't actually made any updates yet. I kind of want to do some things, but I also don't really need to do much at the moment. I imagine the more I learn things like the Adobe suite and the more I need to cut and edit video and stuff, I'll probably want more RAM, probably a better CPU. But right now, it gets the job done.
Yeah, I used to be fairly into custom computers as well back in my early 20s. I'm not anymore. I tend to just throw money at stuff until the problem goes away and things work how I want to do. I do, so I have got a custom copper cooling setup at the minute, which is all hardlined with copper piping.
Wow.
It does need cleaning out because it's old and it needs cleaning. I haven't done it in probably 18 months, so I do need to do that at some point. But other than that, I'm fine with the kit I've got. With the PC, it's powerful enough to do whatever I need with it for the next couple of years. It shouldn't need upgrading. It's only 18 months old. And the rest of everything I need to do is achievable with a MacBook. So, yeah.
Very nice.
Opdoc says, flipping is almost universally hated, but what about harder to find things? For instance, I'm trying to find 9009 GMK Vim set. The price it's going for is pretty insane. I kind of understand why it's so expensive due to how far back they were run. So I guess my question is, do you view the same in the same vein as people who will flip boards? So I think my view on this is that to some extent, you'll never stop people selling things for more than what they paid for them. The question is, how high should those prices be? And broadly, the market kind of does regulate that to some extent. Things will only sell if the price is what someone's willing to pay for it. So we do kind of see that. But the tricks and then the converse side to that is that we should open the community to be more accessible to all where we can. Unfortunately, one of the things that does gatekeep the community a little bit is that a lot of the things we do are run through group buys, which does limit the numbers and makes it harder to get. And then when things get more popular after they've already run, which tends to invariably happen, prices do go up a little bit. I guess it's difficult to say. The people who flip boards are probably the same people who flip key sets. If they want massive profits and they want to try and make as much money as they can, it doesn't matter to them what they're flipping. They're going to do it irrespective of what type of product they've got hold of. They're just going to try and get something they know they can sell for more money at a cheaper price and increase their profit. So I don't think it's the same, necessarily different people or the same vein or anything. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter what the product is. Sadly I don't have Vim set, otherwise I'd have sold it to you at group buy price. But yeah. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, it's
a difficult one.
It's very difficult. It's unfortunate a lot of the time, but there's people out there. It's money's relative, right? Like some people they want GMK Olivia, and like $500 is nothing to them. It's a drop in the bucket. They can throw $500 out the window and it doesn't even matter to them. So they can just be like, bam, GMK Olivia. Here's $500 for that because I want it. And then people like. People like us or you guys out there, maybe if you guys aren't exactly rich since we're not exactly rich either, but throwing $500 on a key set is like unthinkable. Like I could never do that, but some people can do that very, very comfortably, and it's a different world, different mindset. Money's relative.
It is. Yeah. That being said, doesn't mean to say that we should support it.
I agree. Yeah. But that's just how the market value is determined, by the people that are willing to pay that price, and most of those people that are willing to pay that price can do so because they have that much money and they can just do it comfortably.
And because money's
I
agree.
And so for people like us that are like me that are generally live paycheck to paycheck, it's like that's unthinkable. Like you can't. I'm never going to spend $500 on a key set. Like that's not a thing.
I mean, I have a bit of a personal rule, and this is just me. It's not necessarily a comment on anyone else, but I don't sell things for more than what I paid for them, and I try not to buy things at more than what the group buy cost was or very close to it. So, for example, I've picked up off the aftermarket sets like Red Samurai, which is just up here. I don't know if you guys can see that high up. There's Red Samurai just above me on here, and I've got Tarot as well there. I didn't get them in the group buy, but then I've managed to pick sets up like that close to group buy price. Afterwards, just by being a bit savvy about the market and working out who might have it and approaching people and stuff like that. So you don't always have to pay the flippers prices. There are ways around it if you are willing to wait or talk to people a little bit more or advertise or trade and things like that. So there are other opportunities out there to try and leverage that. But to be fair, I said that, but I did come and I bought a second GMK Olivia set just the other week. So I don't have two sets. But one I got in the group buy, and the second one I did pay significantly more than group buy price for. But that's just, as Brian says, it's the way the market goes, unfortunately. What we need to try and do is try and work out how we can not support that as a community. And it's something that I am wanting to write an article on after what we talked about earlier on. So I'll try and put some of my thoughts about how we can regulate that into that article in the next couple of weeks. And then Brian and I will share that on TextClap when that's ready to view.
Yep, cool. All right, GA333E is asking, are you guys coming to KeyCon, which I think is next month in New York, I think is where KeyCon generally is. I will not be going. We need to save money for the Seattle meetup. Trying to make sure Jay can, fly in and have a place to stay, have food and lodging and stuff. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. So we're trying to make sure that that goes off fine. So unfortunately, I don't think either of us are going to be coming to KeyCon this year.
No, but hopefully next week I'll be able to confirm 100% that I've got flights booked and I am coming to to Seattle. It's pretty much certain now. I've got the money sat there ready to go. I just need to actually book the tickets and sort that out, which I'll try and do at the weekend. And then once I've sorted that out, Brian and I'll sort out all the things that I need to do around that sort of accommodation. And we need to think about that, actually, because if I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there a couple of days before. We might have to do a live show where we're both live together, which will be interesting.
Yeah, no, we'll work it out. I think we have to do a live show with us together one way or another. It's just a matter of what time and what day it's going to be, because I think it might be tricky to do on Thursday at our normal time, because I think there's like multiple people flying in, and that'll be the night where we actually start our Airbnb near the meetup. So we might have to do it like on Wednesday, or maybe at the Airbnb on Friday or something. More details on that to come. We're still working things out.
We'll work it out. We'll tell you plenty of time in advance, guys.
It'll be fun.
You'll know. But yeah, you'll know what's happening.
It'll be fun though.
Kairu, I'm not sure how I'm pronouncing that, but any idea what's going on with Z Frontier? They've been super unresponsive lately. From what I understand, they're having some internal struggles at the minute. They're changing around how they work and their business model. So I wish the guys the best of luck. I don't really know anything about their internal structure and how it's working, but they are trying to change things up, and hopefully they'll get back to their winning ways in the next couple of months, and hopefully we'll see that improvement. Yeah,
that's the hope. I haven't really gotten much info. It's incredibly hard to talk to anyone that works at Z Frontier right now, it seems. So we don't really know a whole lot, but it's obvious that they're a little unresponsive right now. Hopefully they get things fixed and changed, and they come back to being a reliable resource. That's the hope.
Sounds good.
Violet Viceroy asking, advice for cable management when you have a lot going on in your desk. Cable management for your desk.
Lemo connectors, and then you only have to have one cable. You can just change it off. And I'm being really sarcastic because I know that's not what you meant, but yeah. My trick for cable management is to have as few cables as possible, work out what you really, really need and what you don't need, and be ruthless. If you don't need it, pull the cables away. Tuck everything out of sight that you can, run cables behind, underneath the desk, and make sure they're all tidy, rather than having them sprawled across the top of the desk. Those are all ways you can improve your cable management.
Yep, definitely.
I think we missed a question as well. I think Surf Fortuna said, what do you guys do for day jobs? Do you want to go first, Brian?
Yeah. So I am a table games dealer at a local casino. Well, card room, I guess, legally. But, yeah. So I deal things like blackjack and a variety of other games. I do pretty much everything. Not very exciting.
I work for a financial institution here in the UK. I'm a senior product owner / program manager, and I'm responsible for a lot of the technology we use in our branch network across the UK and some of the EU as well.
All right. Mina Nitz is asking, no chance GMK Olivia will be run again?
I think it is being run again, isn't it?
I don't know if... Okay, Olivia's actually in chat and she confirms it will rerun, but I imagine that'll come probably after GMK Olive. That would be my guess. Slippery PED is asking, is that a Sirius? Yeah. Actually, I showed this off like a few times on stream already. Like, I was trying to show off the Lemo connector because you were talking about it, because they're freaking awesome. But yeah, this is a
I've got one here. I can't show it. Yeah.
Love me some Sirius. You guys can check out the build stream if you're curious about the Sirius or the Kepler. It is up on our Top Clack YouTube channel, link below.
Yeah, I definitely need to buy one of those. I'm going to order one tomorrow evening, I think. I've got a busy day tomorrow, but
you won't regret it, Jay.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy one. Yeah, definitely, I'll go for that.
All right, one last question before we go that just came in.
Okay.
Particle Decelerator, great name, asking, have you tried Matthias quiet click switches? What MX switch is closest in feel? I have, and I don't know if there's any MX switch that's close to in feel to the Matthias quiet click. It's a pretty unique switch because ALP style switches and MX style switches don't really feel the same. They kind of have like a different feel entirely. So yeah, I would say that doesn't really exist. I mean, I guess if I was forced to make a comparison, I would probably say like V1 Zelios. Relatively decent round bump, kind of in the middle.
Maybe, yeah, but they're definitely not going to sound the same, because the thing with MX switches is that when they're clicky, they're really clicky. Now I have a Matthias quite click board as well, and it is really quiet, but it does have that click, and that's partly tactile, partly audible. But there's nothing in the MX world that comes close to it in terms of sound. In feel, maybe Zealio's V1 is quite close because it gives you that tactile bump, as Brian says, but I don't think you'll get anything close in sound.
Yeah, it's pretty different. Personally, I think Matthias switches are not very good.
Yeah.
They have really loose quality control. Like really loose quality control, and I don't really appreciate that. I've owned multiple boards with Matthias switches, and I've never really been happy with any of them. They've all been wildly inconsistent, and a lot of the times the switches just die on me, and I'm like, I don't understand why this is happening. But
I'm not a fan of them either. I've got a retail board with them in. But, yeah, they're all right. I'm not really a fan. I'll be honest. There's plenty of other options out there though if you want something different. If you hit us out on the Discord, I'm happy to talk about switches all day though on there, and we can find something that fits for you.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of that, now's probably a good time to wrap up as any. So below the stream, you'll find our Discord linked below. You can come chat with us there, hang out, talk about whatever you guys want. There's something for everyone there. We play games there as well. You can also check out our YouTube channel link below, where all the VODs go up, as well as typing tests and a variety of other things. 24-hour stream is coming soon, guys. The Talk Clack refresh/evolution also coming very soon. It's all in the works, so keep an eye out on that, guys. We'll have some cool things happening soon, as well as some more giveaways. You guys know the drill. Thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate all the eyes on us, all the viewers, not just the donators and subscribers, which we do greatly appreciate, but just all the people that just come hang out, have a good time, talk about keyboards with us. You know the drill.
Yeah, absolutely. We genuinely appreciate your support, guys, irrespective of your your involvement in the community. Just being here is a massive privilege for us. So thank you very much for the support. Any final thoughts before we finish, Brian?
Stay with us on the road to Twitch Partner, guys. It's coming.
Yes.
I hope
soon.
It's coming.
Speaking of which, have you got any build streams this week?
Oh yes, thanks for reminding me. I will be doing a build stream tomorrow. So I will be tomorrow, probably either 4 p.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. Pacific. Probably going to be 5 p.m. Pacific, but I'm going to try to aim a little bit earlier. We'll see. I will be doing a Kira 80 for Mike of Novel Keys. He has entrusted me to loop some switches and do a build for him, so I'll be doing that on stream. It'll be a good time. I've never used this board before in particular, so that's going to be fun. So if you want to see me build a Kira TKL, then tomorrow about 5 p.m. Pacific time. Of course, I'll have times up on Discord and probably Reddit beforehand, so you guys can be on the lookout for that. But yeah, what about you, Jay? You doing something Sunday?
Yeah, as always on Sunday, 8 p.m. UK time, which is roughly 3 p.m. in the East Coast or noon on the West Coast. I will be building the Rain M3 prototype, which I have in my hands here. This is an extended 40% 1800 mishmash layout. So I've got the prototype here. I'll be building that with a carbon fiber plate and some Fey switches. So that's all getting prepped on Saturday for the build stream, but that'll happen as per usual in my normal Sunday slot. So please feel free to come and check us out when we do that.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you guys tomorrow during the build stream. Either way,
see you later, guys.
Have a good night and or morning, depending on where you are.